Two things before we get started. You all know, no recording without letting us know in advance. Any conversations should take place out in the hall, if they're going to be loud ones. Thanks. Can I have approval?
So moved.
Thank you, Diane. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any public comment at this time? Hearing none, we'll move directly to the consent agenda. Oh, excuse me, I forgot one important thing. Present at tonight's meeting are John McLaughlin, Stephen Welsh, Diane Coombs, Val Oliver, TJ Watterson, and myself, Ray Bull. So consent agenda, does anybody need to recuse?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
On consent number
Yes.
2,
Mm-hmm.
Captain Lane,
Yes.
new timber change,
Okay.
James Redding, what was that about?
It's 3 tabs going to black architectural.
Got me changing it to architectural. It's Jimmy Biden.
He's going from 3 tab 2 architecture?
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
all right. Thank you.
That's all you have to do.
But black.
It was black 3 tab, now it's black.
How about number 4?
Somerset Lane.
Same thing?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All
How about
set,
number
John?
8?
Oh,
Same thing?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yep.
Okay.
I guess, well, 3. Okay.
Thank you.
It's just, sorry, sometimes they sign them out that way.
Okay, so we have 4 regular
Motion
members.
to approve the.
Well, I just want to establish the.
Oh.
Thank you, though. I'll hold your motion. Who wants to start it out? TJ?
Yes.
All right. So TJ's on this one. So all those in favor of, I'm sorry, Val has made a motion to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Consent with conditions, do we need no recusals on that one? So why don't you hang on this one, TJ, just to get it over.
Motion approved consent with conditions.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that was the consent agenda. Now we move directly to old business. John, obviously, you need to let me know who's sitting on it.
Yeah. A number of these,
Thank you, John. A number of these were held over, meaning that there's no board yet?
correct.
Okay. Does that include this one that we are reviewing right now?
Yes, it does.
Okay, very good then. So this one was going to go to Stephen.
Welcome. What's going on? Getting there. So we're looking for a little outdoor shower on this house. I think the reason we're looking at it is because we're asking for an extra 1.5 feet of lattice on top of the 6-foot board, typical board outdoor shower. And the reason we want that is because there's a pretty good grade difference between the deck on the main house and the location of this cottage. And visibility and privacy are concerned. So we want to add that extra 1.5 foot of lattice to just try to screen that from the main house. A couple of points of interest. This outdoor shower is going to get kind of put into a big line of thick privet. So we're going to remove 3 privet plants to put it in. So it'll be pretty buried in the vegetation. And you can see that line of privet.
All right, so this photograph right here, I believe, was taken
From the street.
Crooked Lane.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Because there's no visibility from Mattock
No.
Road because it's behind the building.
Yep. Exactly.
So it's
right.
going on the left-hand
Yep.
side of the cottage.
You got it.
So basically, it's sort of right next to where the white pickup truck is in that photograph.
Yeah. So there's a big line of privet at the end of that little parking area,
Yes.
and then there's a big line of privet on the side that is getting buried into.
Oh, a second layer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's pretty well screened. I mean,
Everybody get that? So there's the first layer of privet that's right demising the parking from the rest of the yard. And then if you go to the second photograph, you'll see that there is a second layer of privet right by the cottage.
right. So we're taking out 3 of those privets on the left of the cottage to put this thing
You're just
into it.
inserting it.
Yeah. So it's getting buried in the privet.
Yeah, Aye.
But,
A comment, Stephen?
Just when you're ready, I'll make a motion.
I'm gonna hold it just for a second. Anyone have any comments on this?
Is it natural to weather?
yes.
Natural to weather? Okay, I'm going to entertain Stephen's motion, which is to approve as submitted. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much.
Next up, oh, this might be the one that was held, right? Because we have no representation for this.
Yeah.
Okay, so item number 2 has no representation at this point.
All right.
What, Val?
I was gonna just say, can we motion to put it down on the agenda with the other items for that property?
He's not going, I mean, he's off island, obviously, so
Oh.
he's not gonna be here.
Okay.
Um,
Well, Mira's the hardscape
Oh,
person.
She is, but this is an architectural change.
Oh.
And I think that we need to have somebody from his office
Okay.
represent it, not
Okay.
Mirka. It's a fairly substantial architectural change. I mean,
Who's that? What architect's that?
APD,
Andrew.
yeah, Andrew Koch.
Oh,
So can I have a motion to hold that one for representation?
move.
Thank you, Diane. All those in favor?
aye.
Aye. Okay.
Ray,
Yes.
you've seen it, so you know it's a substantial change. Is it
Well, it's not a
something
subs-
that's
it's
gonna
not a substan-
impact what we're looking at later?
No, not related.
Okay.
Let me rephrase that, just for the record. It's not a substantial change, but it is absolutely an architectural change as opposed to a landscape change. And so I don't think Mirka, she might not even know what's happening.
No, that's fine. I just
Okay.
wanted to ask if it was related in any way to
No.
the other.
No, I think that those guys will show up at some point.
Okay.
So we've already held that, right? We can vote on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Jack Berry, 1 Goose Cove Way. Oh.
We
Yeah,
know
these
for
have
that.
been held twice.
Oh, okay.
Because we didn't have a quorum, TJ left.
So everybody is obviously on these.
Which one's first, Barry?
Yeah.
Was this from Thursday that got hold of it?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, applicant didn't have a quorum, so they weren't able to have a meeting.
Okay. Thank you for noting that. So, Val, you want to tell us?
It's an application for a pool. I had 14 by 24 on the application, but before I came to the meeting, he asked me to ask if I could change that to 14 by 28. It's behind the house. These are the lots that sit down low. They used to be, I guess, tennis court lots or something.
Yeah.
The house is already there. It was a Huntington home, and the garage is there as well. If you look at the lot, it's a rather unusual lot. It goes all the way out to South Cambridge, I think, just to give it the square footage. But there's also this utility easement that's held by National Grid, or the telephone company, I can't remember which one, and you see the dotted line there. They can't do anything in that area. So it's pretty modest, really. Little bluestone patio around the pool and lawn and fencing and the hedge.
Yeah, so, the fencing, it's kind of hard to tell from this, but it looks like it connects back to the house here.
Oh, yeah.
Runs around the property line, well, yeah, runs around the back property line, and then sort of,
Here, if this is clear, it's not right on the line because that property line is a huge retaining wall for the person in back of them.
this line.
No.
This
Yeah, so it's not going to that. It's about 10 feet away from there.
And on this side, it is going to the line,
Yeah.
which I believe is at south.
also gonna be natural vegetation there from the lot next to him.
Diane, how do you feel about this? Oh, no, you're eating, I'll come back to you.
No,
You good?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
The, that fence dies in, the pool fence dies into the main house, right? Over that
Yes.
patio,
Yep,
and then on the other side, just on the other side of the house. I don't have any problem, that's very funny. Land and property edges down in that particular thing, those are those awful pork chops.
Oh, yeah.
And when you're looking down, you can't tell whose land is
Yeah.
where. So I think that this is
it's
fine.
like a bowl.
Interesting. Okay, TJ?
I think it looks acceptable. I appreciate the note about screening the AC units from the road with plantings. I don't see a lot of plantings represented, but I know that, it says that you must intend on screening it. Already.
It seems set back a bit.
Yeah, and they're also set back, and I know there's probably vegetation along the road there remaining as well, right?
Well, they're
Oh, this
just
is at
doing
the
the
end of the
landscaping,
cul-de-sac.
yeah.
Yeah, I have no concerns, and the gate is natural way.
Yep,
And John?
What is this line? This is, yeah,
it's wire fence
that's
in,
correct.
yeah.
What is this line coming down here?
That's it. That's
That's
it as
wire
well.
fence, too.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just saying that this shows it buffered on both sides. This one isn't, that's the question, coming down here.
Well, it's not privet, it's natural vegetation right there. That's why I didn't put the line of hedge like that.
So all those plants that you see on this side, John, that's all, I think that's all scrub vegetation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that could be 2 feet high next to the 4-foot fence.
Oh, well, so we can do our, when John goes out for his inspection, fence has to be hidden as part of the motion. Stephen?
Yeah, they're gonna open up a nudist colony back there.
I don't think he's joking, I've heard of them.
If you have no concerns, I'll make a motion.
I have no concerns. Could we just attach that motion that at the time of this site inspection, the wire fence will be screened?
And may I also
included.
change the size to 28
Oh,
instead of
yeah,
24?
no,
Yeah.
no one had a problem with
Okay.
that, so that's fine. So, that's all part of your motion?
It is,
All
sir.
those in favor of Stevens? Oh, sorry.
The length instead of 24.
Okay, all those in favor of Steve's motion? Aye,
Aye.
very good. 7 Arkansas.
No quorum again for the
Correct.
NAB.
Oh.
I originally came in for a garage with a little space over it on this site, and they decided not to build that, which was approved. That is now just a modest one-story addition on the house that's there.
I gotta get my tips in before you get over there, it gets lost in the fog.
So it just
That's a
happened.
few months ago, right?
Yeah, well, it wasn't an addition on the house, it was a garage that was attached by a pergola.
I remember that one. It's over here.
Yeah, but it's not happening.
Well, no, I thought this were your additions.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't it?
What's this?
Yeah.
Oh, for this project?
Yeah.
Where's the ground, the wall, some of you,
Do it a little bit larger. I think.
Sorry?
I'm having a tough time focusing on this.
To read it.
John might
Sorry,
have.
ask me again, I can't hear you.
Apparently, you're moving something, you're taking the wall down.
I am adding on to an existing structure.
See this bubble?
Yeah.
That's what she's doing.
So
This bubble is Where's that bubble?
Where the hatch marks are is what's existing. .7 high. Another bizarro lot.
Yeah,
Seriously. Like envelops another lot.
I know.
A C-shaped lot.
what do you need?
The window and door schedule is right there.
Can you read it, John?
Thanks to John.
It doesn't tell you anything.
Come on.
Actually, what it doesn't tell you is double hung.
Oh,
I know that these initials mean.
that's a door.
Yeah.
The top one is
It's French
It's
Virginia.
a-
DW is a one. DW, yeah.
but it's fixed,
So they're
because it's up in
so
the
they're,
gable, yeah.
Little Anderson box. What are you looking for?
Right here.
The awning windows?
Yes.
Yep, I'm asking for awning windows.
I don't think it's appropriate.
I think you're not gonna see them, they're behind the existing house.
They're on the back side.
And there's an L.
Are they on the backside?
Yeah, so here's the house that's there, you go around the corner and that's where the addition is. 16 feet back. Here's the existing house, John, right here.
Yeah, you can come ahead with it. Okay.
You come in, this is,
And it's coming off here.
yeah. Yo,
Sorry. This is the front.
well, it's where you drive in, technically, yeah. I don't think it is, but he can make his comment. What would we do, make him double hung?
Was that supposed to be like the?
The driveway's moving though, correct? I'm looking at the Google picture, so I see the town site.
See where it continued, that extra little dotted stuff, and it says map 59? That's where the garage was, so it's staying where it is, where you see it stop now.
So the driveway is on the, to the right of the main gable as you're facing from Arkansas. And then to the left of the driveway is cedar and other shrub.
Yeah,
Which
well,
is
look
why
at your little Google map, yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm looking at the town one and it's old and it shows a driveway on the other side where you would see those awnings. But the way it's laid out now with the plant material there, it's blocked. Mostly.
Oh, yeah, you're right, it spurs off the other way for parking.
Yeah, it's on the opposite side of the
Yeah,
house.
She
so
didn't
that,
even have to tell us. We told her.
yeah, no kidding.
Okay, so, do you want to continue, Steve?
Yeah, I don't have any concern with it.
Okay. Diane?
No, I don't have any concerns with it, I don't know, chimney just seemed a little wide, but if you've got two crews in there, I can understand.
The chimney's
What's also
existing.
yeah.
It's existing,
Yeah.
okay.
Look at the photo on the front page.
Yeah,
Hard,
that's I
Lovely.
know that house, I know that chimney well.
But, other than the chimney, are you okay with the addition?
Yep.
How about you, TJ?
I have no concerns.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve as submitted.
Okay, thank you, Diane. All those in favor of Diane's motion?
Aye.
Aye. You okay, John, or you in? Okay, thanks. All right, and it looks like this is the last of your troika. noticed that you put that in like really bold print up the top.
Well, they like you to put that on the application too, the original,
Yeah, that's supposed to.
1988, called Sandpiper. We'd like to move it off for demo.
You're gonna move it,
Are you gonna save that gargantuan half round that's over the French doors?
The one that's all fogged up.
Boy, oh boy.
Mm.
Funny.
What are they going to build there?
Remove it.
They're gonna move this away, and then what are they going to build?
Build a new house.
What's it gonna look like?
Like all the other houses out there.
Something less. Something less.
You know, it actually, with all due respect to Gwen, because I really like him a lot, but, I mean, I can't imagine this board right here approving this in 20 years. This design.
I can't.
He
So
got
many
away,
things about
he
it.
got away with a lot of
Well, there's a bunch of houses out there
no,
right now.
well,
It's like an edifice
He was
to the,
a legend.
to the 80s.
Right.
yeah.
good or bad, that.
Well, you know, ideally it would make some housing for somebody that really needs a house. But
Needs a lot of work.
yeah,
Inside,
that's generally.
Enough ground cover for this.
Hmm?
Okay, just enough ground.
There you go.
Squeeze it in, John.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if you'll approve to move on.
Yeah, right.
You have to paint the
Make sure
trim.
you get a heavily wooded
Dale,
side.
just while I have you, what is this? What is
Looks
this?
like a
like
boat hole or something.
Oh, it's just boarded up because that window
Okay.
is all fogged up.
That looks like a canvas
I
with the
know.
bottom of a
But
boat.
that's why I put the drawing.
Surfboard signs, yeah.
I think
All
they
right.
made it look
So
like
it
that.
seems,
first one.
it doesn't sound like anyone has any huge issues with.
Motion to approve is submitted.
Okay. All those in favor? All right.
could I add just one thing?
Yes, please.
That it will be recorded that it's Neil Dorf's house.
But it's what?
In what way?
Just when they hand the picture, you're gonna take pictures from all four sides and all that jazz?
I did, but I can do more.
She
We're just-
wrote it on the plans.
They're on the plans, as long as they're recorded somewhere in the
And
certificate.
And
That is-
Diane, I gave you his original plans as
Oh,
well.
those are his, good.
Yeah.
They should go in with it, that's great.
Okay, so that was submitted as part of your application. Oh, no,
Okay.
it sounds like you're covered, as
Yeah.
long as there's a record. Oh, gosh, I see.
Is that an aye?
But, yeah,
Aye.
you're approved.
Aye.
We were gonna modify the motion, but we don't need to. Okay, next up is, Paul Jensen. Who's just meditating over there.
I was, and my back is better, so I won't get up so
Oh,
slow.
it's always good news.
Yeah, biking sleep helps.
All right.
Let me know, Ray, I'd like to talk. Let me know when I can talk.
You talk now.
All right,
Actually, wait.
Abby was on this. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, right, we're into the ones that we have a board on.
Cole, McLaughlin, Oliver, Welch, and Martin.
Okay.
We looked at this?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, long time ago.
wait, not the one that you just, like, last one?
No, this is totally different.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is 18 Atlantic Avenue. The comments, which were, if I'll remind you, from October, okay? It takes a while. One of the owners is an architect, and so he's doing the work when he can.
I always thought people waited so that we forget.
All right, you guys wanted, things like Anderson inappropriate, need 2010 building permit information. This is a historic structure, we need information. The French doors on the front were not appropriate. And it is visible. And I wanted to say that my new application, we've got new elevations. It removes the French door. All the new windows will be authentic, single, true divided light. Okay. If you wanted to know what's happening. If you go to the floor plans or the thing, you can see that we're removing a gable off the back and adding to a gable on the front and connecting what is called the existing studio to the house, okay? And I can go through the elevations, or I can just go on to, you've got in your packet historic building information. There's surveys from 1988. The garage is not contributing. There's a nice picture in there that shows how it looked. The house is a contributing structure. There's no dates, but they're definitely pre-1938, because that's the flyover that shows that.
This is Paul Bill's house.
I didn't look way back. I don't know whose it was.
No, like living there now.
I think he's.
No.
No.
Okay.
It must be next door.
Yeah. What we've done is remove the French doors. We've added new windows on the front, but those are all single divided. There's a roof connection between the studio and the house. Before there was not a connection, a significant connection. There's a chimney on that new gable. On the north side, there's two new windows. There's no change in its shape. But if you want to really look for interest, and I don't think it's a big deal, if you look at that building permit and what they asked to do, and then what they did and got signed off on, it's not even close. There were no French doors on the front of the HDC, or nothing, but it got signed off, and there's no other HDC that I could find. But anyway, we're correcting all that in this.
So, thanks for that, but I'm going to ask you, if only for my own benefit. So, could you just go through elevation by elevation? We're going to go elevation by elevation, starting with the one that faces Atlantic Avenue.
That's the west elevation.
The west elevation. Okay.
Okay.
So now I see. Is everyone looking at the west elevation?
Yes.
Okay. So, if I understand your west elevation correctly, and this is the one that is going to get the most scrutiny because it's the one facing the road. So, the piece on the right-hand side is existing,
Is the house.
and is that building right there?
Yes.
Okay. Now, so right now it shows this shed roof porch, right,
Mm-hmm.
in the picture.
Yeah.
But on your drawing, or on the architect's drawing, it's shown as a hip roof. Is that because that's one of those things that they built differently? No, well, this was built. So how did it go from this to that?
I do not know, but I
But
believe
you're not
there's
requesting any change.
We're not requesting any change. This
it's
is
hip now.
existing. It's hip
Hip
now.
to now.
And
Okay.
there should be a picture. Originally, I submitted pictures of all this.
So.
No
okay.
change is requested for the roof that is not circled. No change is requested for the roof on the house, the main portion of the house, or that deck, or that door, those windows, except for the skylight that's going on.
Got that. And we'll get back to
Yeah, of
that when
course,
we
yeah.
go to the, this is west, that would be the south elevation.
Yes.
So to continue on the west elevation, you talked about having a gable forward, and that gable presumably is the bubble piece that's in the middle of the drawing.
Right. There
That's
is
one window and one door.
And there were French doors in there with a four-light sky above.
So he is
Okay,
getting rid of that.
now when you say there were French doors in there, you mean when it was
Existing
not,
right now.
not a gable forward?
There was always a gable forward. We're extending the gable forward.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right, okay. Got it. Everybody following this?
So what you're not seeing, Ray, that's really unclear, is if you look at the last page, it shows that little bump. He's removing the bump and adding to the front of the gable on the garage.
Right there, that big
Connector
piece.
piece.
Right.
Yeah.
So is this side,
That's the back.
this is the back?
That's the front. That's Atlantic is towards me on your sheet.
Really?
See, there's the porch on the front of the house.
Yeah. But so what's all this?
The prior owners did a subdivision based on old
Oh, so
structures.
it's set way back from the road.
It's set pretty far back from the road.
Yeah, okay.
Explains why I don't remember this house.
Exactly. You know, okay. All right, this is very helpful, seeing photographs. So you're adding on to the gable, you're getting rid of the French doors.
And we're adding onto the gable, we're adding a chimney too, because they want to have a little fireplace in there.
All right. Okay, so does everybody get what's going on in terms of changes on the west elevation, also known as Atlantic Avenue front elevation? Everybody okay? We're going to ask Paul now to review, let's go to the north elevation.
The north elevation, all we're doing is changing some windows that are in here.
Well, you're adding on to that.
Yeah,
gable.
we're aiding on, so we've got, that gable punches out, and we're putting some windows in it. And those are new,
Now,
true
is it
divided.
adding on by how much?
By approximately that circle, like,
12 feet.
That's-
Oh, so it only bumps out a small amount right now.
Yeah.
That's this one.
Substantial. Okay,
okay?
so chimney
One's new,
and
one's
windows,
existing.
thank you. That was the north elevation.
Well, and there should be, we're missing, there would have been a gable sticking out the back of this that I did not circle.
Okay, but
Yeah,
we understand there's a cable coming on.
off the back that we're removing.
Correct. Okay, so that was the north. Now the east, which is the back.
That's the new
That gable is shrinking down to approximately the size it was on the front. We're taking about 5 feet off of it. And it's gonna be about 6 inches. We're trying to get inside the setback.
Are you adding those windows or
Those windows, I
is there
believe,
something there now?
those are new windows,
So which is the north side?
divided light, okay?
This one exists. This is this.
Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
This is
All right, and then finally,
This is new.
we have the south elevation, which is the skylight. Looks like the addition of a window on the right-hand side.
Yeah, they're repurposing, I believe that window was on that back gable as a single window originally, and they're putting it there.
All right, and then the other bubble is obviously the removal of that portion of the gable.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
So Paul, just on your north elevation, the gable on the left is new gable. That to the left is new,
That is on
Left of that.
to the left.
no, this is the house.
No, to your
That-
other left, yeah.
That, there, no, that's existing.
Well, how does that jive?
That's right there, that's what's sticking out right.
But if this is the existing skylight, the gable's centered on it in the drawing, but it's to the left, to the right of it.
Yeah, I don't know if they're moving the skylight, they must be. But I don't think we're moving, we're leaving the sky.
This is on your north elevation, number 15, and this gable is shown over here.
No, that skylight is actually in the addition we're getting rid of. Do you see, like,
Oh, I see what you,
Yeah.
yeah, it's taken from the inner
Here.
board.
I couldn't even get close to it because they're privets,
Yeah.
couldn't take a picture.
I gotcha.
So you're kind of seeing this gable coming out and the old gable that went that way. See, there was a gable right here.
I
And there was
gotcha.
a skylight right here.
I got you, and that's reflected on your plan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just trying to make heads or tails.
I can't wait for Marcus to try to figure this out because it's so confusing.
Yes, that'll be the next.
You want to start?
I think, thanks for clarifying everything for us and making some changes. I think everything looks good.
John? You ready? You ready? I'll start. Okay. Now, I forget, one of you is not on it. Was it you, Diane, who was not on it?
I'm not on.
Not on it. Okay, Val.
Is it necessary to have 3 different door styles on that west side?
The door on the main house is existing, and that other door is a historic door of some sort.
The Dutch door, yeah.
The Dutch door, but it's not very practical to go in and out of. And so they want to create an access, so there are going to be 3 doors on that front side.
Well, could he make the number 3 door look like one of the other 2? It just seems funny to have 3 different styles, especially on the front. I mean, it could be the same as the main door, or
I think that's a good point.
We're open to suggest.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the door, the entry door is a door that you commonly find in like the Brosco catalog. So I think that you could replicate that. Yeah, sure.
I think my client would be open to that, like to replicate maybe the door on the
Get
house.
them a little bit more light.
yeah, it just because the number 3 looks like my parents' door on Hooper Farm Road. It doesn't seem to.
This is
match
going
up
away.
between these 2.
Good point, though.
And then, so some of the windows have grills, some of the windows don't, but that's how it is,
Is
right?
that by
That's,
intention?
I think that's, we'd have to look, he may not, I think,
You're okay, just.
it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
I think they're existing, they stay there.
I think, well, certainly some of them have grills.
Yeah.
Maybe
And
that-
they all
it's
have
hard to
storms
tell.
on them. They have
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they all have storms on them.
Behind those beautiful historic triple tracks.
We're gonna be putting on,
Obscures everything.
we're gonna be putting on the, because the energy will require it.
Yeah. 130.
Well, so that was just an observation, wasn't it, Val? The observation about the different, some having buttons and some
Yeah.
not. Okay. Is that it?
I'm turning it down.
Val, you
Sorry.
all set?
Yes.
Okay. Steven?
I think if this were any closer to the road, I'd be concerned that the west elevation and the north elevation windows, the north, I know you can't see, but the west elevation, window number 2, is the same height as the main house, but it's wider. And with the doors being different, but it's far enough back that you're gonna change the door over. Not every window has to be the same. The others aren't visible, really so much, so you're only gonna really have 2 different types of windows showing to the street.
That's it. And John, do you have any further comment? You good? Okay, so it sounds like what we want to do with this application is simply make a motion that would include changing door number 3 to match the existing door, which is numbered 5, which is an 8-light door. And that's the extent of the changes that we'd be requesting through staff.
That would be my motion.
Thank you, Val. All those in favor of Val's motion?
Aye.
Great.
Thank you.
You up for it?
Nope, I'm done.
Eight.
8 North Mill.
Good evening, everyone.
Hey,
How's it going?
Good. How's Dan?
He's hanging in there. He just had his birthday. He's 89 now. 89th birthday.
Yeah.
A couple days ago.
No way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna buy the Jeep.
Is that?
You couldn't show me the Jeep.
Let's give it to you.
Huh?
You're just giving it to you.
From a couple years ago.
You better get it fast before it completely rusts out.
Is it 2-wheel or 4-wheel?
It's got 4 wheels.
4-wheel? Great, great.
4-wheel. Do we have board on this one? Okay.
Yes, Chip Webster on behalf of the applicant. This is an application for demo of a garage. We requested more information, and I have a host of photographs here. It appears, as best I can tell, that there was a smaller existing garage that was kind of torn apart, and parts of that were reused along with new material to expand it. And these photographs kind of tell that story. This is the street, this is the view of it. It's essentially 3 bays, and as best I can tell, this was the original one, because you can see in this drawing, this is looking in that larger bay. There's an exterior wall here that is the partition wall between that larger bay and the next bay. And it has shingles on it for about maybe 25% of it, and the shingles were pulled off for the rest.
But they're sheathing on the rest.
The whole thing is sheathed and partially shingled, so it clearly was an exterior wall. Then the center bay, which is here, this is the outside view, and you go into the inside. This is that same wall on the inside, so it's just you can see it's a combination of new material, old material. I talked to the owner, and they recalled that their grandmother had literally taken apart part and reused part and bought some new wood and so forth. Okay, and then this is the last bay.
Quite a bench.
Yeah, it's a great bench, isn't it?
Yeah. So there are partitions between all 3 bays?
That's correct.
In other words, there's 2 partitions interior. Two interior partitions.
Two interior
dividing
partitions
into
creating
3
3 bays.
Yeah.
And one of those is the one I pointed out was just clearly was original exterior wall.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
And I can, of course, submit these to the package. That's correct.
Val, are you ready to start?
Sure.
Okay. Great.
I don't think I have a problem with this, but can you put on the floor plan for us for posterity where the division line, the interior
Absolutely.
walls are, just for the file?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it?
Mm-hmm.
TJ?
We just heard a cool Nantucket story, I thought, that reads through this garage. It's kind of cool, I think. I wonder, and I know you've got plans for the lot, if this garage could be moved on site and reused anywhere within the new program.
You can have it.
I don't know. I'm hoping it could stay there.
Johnny, is that room still, or
Uh,
that Gwen Thorson house took it up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make a nice garage for it.
Making a move demo at least.
It's,
Oh, well, they're always moved.
Yeah, I guess they're only.
We never mandate it.
Yeah.
Was that it?
Oh, yeah, that's me.
Okay. John?
My uncle owns this. Should I abstain?
Did he?
He's been dead 46 years. But
Did
Your
you
uncle-
inherit it?
Your uncle did own that?
Is he gonna make money on
he
it?
owned this building and the farmhouse across the street.
No kidding, I love that.
The house up on the hill.
Oh, well, that
The
farmhouse
antique house up on the hill.
yeah?
That, Mr. Mueller,
Yeah.
he bought all of it.
We're still in the Mueller family.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Thought he didn't know, huh?
So, John, are you okay with a move demo of this building?
Sure.
Okay. Sounds like you think we're ready for a motion.
I'd make a motion to approve the move-off demo, with just providing the file with, the interior schematic.
Okay. Thank you. All those in favor of Val's motion?
Aye,
Aye.
and the photos.
Anybody else in on that one? Were you in, TJ?
I'll see.
Okay, TJ abstained. John, are you in? Are you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, should
all
we
right.
read that?
There you go. 34 Main is also you.
Yep. 34 Main is the request to restore the windows to their original configuration.
Sorry,
Sorry.
gotta check something out. Has this been heard?
Yes,
This has been heard.
yeah.
Just need to know.
Paul Coombs, McLaughlin, Oliver, and Robertson, alternate Welch.
Very good. Thank you.
again, Chip Webster on behalf of the applicant, and this is a request to restore the mutton configuration to the original configuration. There were two questions, as I understand. One was the original configuration was actually divided into 3 large panels, and there's a question as to whether we were wanting to remove all of them or leave it like that. We want to restore it to the original, which was the 3 panels, so not one panel.
I want to just be clear on that.
Yeah, yeah.
When you say originally, I think what you're referring to is as it was back in the 60s when we have this photograph, right?
That's correct. That's
Whatever happened like way before that, we don't really know.
Well, we don't know, but one of the things is the muttons, other than those 2 divided ones, there's space between them and the glass. I mean, it's just a frame that somebody tacked up in front of it.
So it's not
So-
like original building or anything.
Well, you don't know that.
That's what I'm saying. We
People could have
don't know.
tacked it up.
Well, there's
That was the
one-
oldest information we could find.
Correct. Okay, sorry, continue.
Yeah, so the clarification on that is that we are intending to keep those 2 vertical dividing buttons such that it would be divided into 3 sections per the photograph. There was also a request to bring in actual Benjamin Moore color chips for the proposed color change, which I have as well. We gave some of the file and brought some more, so we have a lot of them.
Which number?
It's the 70 is the request.
70?
That's correct.
What's the color of the building now?
That's
Yellow.
white.
No,
Well, there is
yeah.
white, but there's like a creamy yellow.
yeah, there's a creamy yellow, and that's the color that they would like to change to the
That
off
doesn't
gray.
look very gray to me.
Creamy. Well, we could go to the 60 if you don't like the 70.
I mean, if you put it next to a white piece of paper, it's,
It's white. White.
Very limited amounts of gray.
Yeah. Well, that's what you've got. I mean, like I suggested, one possibility might be going to the 60, which is a little darker.
When it's really dark in the room, it's gray.
What about 50?
Yeah.
Chip,
50.
this is the same color a few fronts down,
Right.
right?
I believe so.
That's what,
I don't think the 70 is,
Does
because,
it?
I mean, usually,
What about 50? Look at 50.
50's nice, but the one thing that you have to really be careful of with these tiny chips is when you get a whole bunch of it on a surface, it gets dark.
It gets dark. Yeah.
You obviously want to
the
have
yellow is-
contrast.
The yellow
It's,
is fairly
it's aggressive, yeah,
good yellow.
yeah. You want to start then
It'll be really dark on a big wall. Trim.
with, so we are talking about the paint color, obviously, but we're also talking about the mutton configuration or lack thereof.
You're keeping the painted glass above the paneled glass.
Yes, correct.
I don't know, I don't know that, is there any other window downtown that has that configuration?
There are some somewhat similar ones on Main Street.
What's?
Okay, well, our larger lights. This is at 42, so you can see those are pretty large lights.
Give me the name
the
of
girl
the
that came
building.
last week said that might be the same color on 42.
That it might be, but let me show you. We have several photos here. Hold on, time out. Okay, and I believe this is all part of the application too. But here's 48 Main that has the larger lights at the bottom with the divider at the top. Here's 26 Main. So there are 2 or 3 other occasions. There's a sprinkling of them, which I think would be the right text.
this is his
I have a photo of in front of this in 1952. For the top.
Do you remember what it looks like?
It look like that.
On the photo. No, I can go get it, right in my dashboard. You want to look at it? Up there, Commissioner.
Yeah.
You want to check it out?
Do you remember what it was? Could you just explain it? Or?
The photo's in 1952.
Yeah, did it have these divided lights like it currently has, or was it more like 68?
No, I can't remember, I'd go get it. So I'd take-
30 Main Street, they've got the same thing.
Were you gonna say something?
I would, I guess go along, the 30 Main Street has got the same windows.
You mean the clear glass
Yeah,
with just the
with the
mullions
upper-
in between?
Yeah.
And the transom up above.
The transom up above and then the three big panels. And 30 Main Street has that, and I guess, Stephanie's, what number is she? She's 42. She has them divided into 4 panels. Did you look at those?
Yeah, yeah, right, that's a couple of doors up.
That looks like that light is,
Four big panels,
yeah,
yeah.
without any thing, but the thing next to it, has the,
It's like 1/1.
what's this,
Isn't it
one,
weird? Oh, right there.
there, see, that's 3/2? But I guess the panels are fine, there seems to be a plethora of different
Make that work.
attachments, so,
Different configurations.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting, because I did have this sort of subconsciously, I was going through town Friday night, I think. And I went down Center Street. Of course, there's all those shop fronts there. And what I realized is the way that this building is right now with the small panes, there's like no buildings that have small panes. Usually, if there's any panes at all, you have expanses of glass that are like this big, big stuff like you see on the one just up the street. What is it called? C-street?
42.
Yeah. That's much more the norm. That's what the whole Sherburne Hall building is, very large sort of Victorian panes of glass. So I thought, well, getting rid of the sort of really small panes is not such a bad idea. But anyway, so Diane, have you said your piece?
yeah, I would go with big panes. I guess when it was the Emporium, it must have had those little panes,
I think it did.
because they didn't change,
The Emporium was not that long ago.
no. But, and I would, rather than seeing 70, I would go with 60 as a color.
60 being the slightly darker one?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, totally agree. Val?
I'm in favor of the 1968 return. I just have a question. The 2 inner windows in that little nook, those are staying with panes, and only the large ones are changing?
In the nook?
So
Yeah.
if you
There's
look in the
doors.
nook windows have panes
Oh,
as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
on the 45.
Well, I
Right.
think what I would propose is if they were, Val, the ones that are up above, where the divided light ones, the transom,
Where the door is?
no, I'm talking about in the front.
Oh,
On
yeah,
the
yeah.
front. Those, you can look at them and you can see those are true divided light original transoms. And you can see underneath where it's a fake grill that's even got airspace between. So I would argue that whatever it was originally on that return, like if it is
It
true
was a
divi-
door, so I know you're not returning it to a door. I'm just asking if there's gonna be grills or it's gonna be a solid piece of glass.
Well, I think it should be solid.
Okay.
Yeah,
To match the.
to match.
Well, there was in the nook in a different configuration anyway. That was
Oh, I see what you're
glass.
saying. And you're talking about where that wheel is.
Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you get it?
Look at that.
You just come along.
Okay.
Did John just bring this in?
Is that the smoking gun that's gonna damage this whole thing?
It's got
No, it backs it up. John, do you know these people?
They're all dead except 2. Is Michael back?
John and somebody else.
Michael Backman's in here?
He's in there.
No way. Okay, so just keeping it moving along, TJ.
Yeah, at first I was a little, resistant of wanting to change the panes on this, but I did like Ray drive around, look around. And, absolutely, like most of them are straight glass. but with the divided lights up top.
Yep.
On, not only India Center, Maine, you know, so this is really in the minority, and it's not like it's just an applied grill anyways.
Yeah.
And the one thing I would say is we're gonna keep it divided in 3 sections?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And I'm like Val's comment about in the negative massing
Keep it
45
coming.
walls to keep those, or to change them to 1 level as well.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, all good. And I don't mind the 70, actually.
So it sounds like your picture is in alignment with the picture that Chip submitted, is showing the,
This one.
Yes.
yeah. So are you okay with this application then?
Sure.
To return it to the way it was back in the glory days, the 60s?
With what color, John?
60 or 70.
Yeah.
Just not the top one.
Not
The
the top.
70 was
No,
the
it's fine.
really light. Okay, can I have a motion on this one? No?
Motion to approve, returning to the 1968 style window configuration, including the interior 45 windows, with the color to be 60.
Is that literally the number, just 60?
2124-60, Benjamin Moore.
Okay, very good. All those in favor of Val's motion? Aye.
She didn't see the photo.
Yeah, I didn't see the photo.
I want to see it just so I can
We're
pick out
passing
my
it.
box.
Get that photo.
Okay, 11 Pond Road.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful and productive remainder of the evening. Thank you.
You too. Did you say wait a minute, Terry?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I got, what was the number on that? It was 212460, Benjamin Moore. Okay, thank you.
It's got to be one of the young ones.
It's like a pharmaceutical convention.
Oh, First National. Wow. Yeah, look at all the socks, white socks. Which one is Mike?
Last one to the right. Betcha that.
Welcome. You want to
All right, how are you?
Karen?
Hello.
Second one in. Shannon, the front right.
That's one to the right.
Yeah. Mike Backman, son of a gun. Wow, thank you for the picture.
He was thin then.
Sorry. Just overall going down memory lane. Okay.
All right, so I said alcove and single panels of glass.
Coombs, Oliver, Welch, on Waterson.
Oh, so I'm not on this one. This was not the last one.
No, we approved the last week.
That's what
It
I
was
thought.
a few weeks ago. So, I came in a few weeks ago with a partial roof array, and the board wanted to see what it would look like covering the entire roof, or the entire roof plane that you see. And I have some, I've got some renderings, which you may have in front of you, and then some examples of full roof arrays.
This is on
Pond Road.
Karen, just so you know, some of these, the polygon went askew, so it overlaps. Or it's,
Some of it what?
It's Kitty Wampus.
Oh, what happened there?
so just to do.
Yeah, that's a mess.
If that's how you want them,
When
you
it-
can't have them.
No. Okay, so here's good ones.
Okay, yeah, just so you.
Yeah,
somebody
I don't
was
know what
like,
happened
are you
with that
talking about?
printing
You
there.
wanna do
Okay,
what?
and here's another copy for,
We'll take a copy over here.
yep, I'll send you that. All right.
Okay, here you go. This is the initial application.
The revision, the application for the revision. Oh, that's the original.
Okay, so these go with this goes with this.
Diane, you know your
Yes, I just,
No, I just
if
want to make
anybody's
sure.
ready to start with it. Johnny, do you have some opinion?
Yes, I would. Where is the documentation for the?
Spec sheet.
Oh,
Oh,
You have to
oh,
have
you want the solar panel?
documentation.
Yeah.
he likes to see the.
Yeah, I got plenty of those.
You have to have one with each
Yeah,
application.
yeah, I know
no?
she has it.
Yeah, yeah, I got it.
It was with the original stuff, the
Yeah.
original application.
And I can give you a few copies. They are all black. You want to see them? For Diane.
No silver, good.
Yeah, no silver. No, it's full black. And the rails are black. Everything's black.
Steve, you're on this, right?
I am.
What do you got to say?
You're done? I still want-
Yes. Yes.
I actually, I'm not on this.
John is not.
Oh,
I drove by this a couple of times. I did touch base with Karen after to send me some images, and then I drove out to Nantucket to look at some of the stuff we approved out there. I believe it's appropriate, subject to some vegetative screening. I don't know that it necessarily needs to be evergreen. I think you've shown some plant material in a plan view I saw somewhere. Chinese elm is a tree. There's various deciduous trees that grow that would really be more effective, even though they're deciduous, because they're gonna be taller quicker and they're gonna be fuller than if you put in an evergreen hedge. You're still gonna see a lot of the second floor. My only hesitation would, the reason I would want screening is because the rooftop is visible, but again, I think with screening it's appropriate, so long as it's a full cover. And I would like to see that strip between the lower between the roof and the panel.
It's the bottom of the panel.
It's like the one you said the manufacturer
Okay, sure.
makes.
Yep, we can do that.
So that you don't have a gap in space,
Yep.
but not trim or anything like that, but just a small fascia around it.
Do you want that around the entire?
I would suggest just the visible side from the driveway, so as you're facing the house, the left side and the bottom, and I think that would help to prevent any issue. I mean, they sell it as an add-on, so I presume you can use it everywhere, but if you only have it on two sides, it won't prevent issues, won't create issues with ventilation,
Right, exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Because this is gonna need ventilation to be hit its full capacity.
Yeah.
Those are my only comments.
I like it better than the partial. And I guess I would just say, in the event you ever reshingle, could you reshingle black to match it? The roof, in 15 years or whatever.
sure. TJ?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that this house, and I would say like many other houses on this street and neighborhood, don't really have like an in-your-face street presence anyway, and you kind of drive through and you feel like you're going through like natural vegetation. I mean, given we are gonna see it, but it's not too in your face, I don't think. And I think with the screening you propose, it's appropriate, and I like the fact that you've covered the whole roof. I think that's gonna be good. Probably you get more panels than electricity.
Yeah.
So yeah, no real concerns.
Okay, only concern, well, not the only concern, but what I'll go along with is, on your last picture of the Truro Center, the performing arts, these panels that you're putting on this roof are not going to look like those, right?
Oh, I think I gave them all. They're not gonna look like, it was, it's under the, the other one right there. It's the second page of that.
See those,
They're just doing this
the other
side.
ones we've done,
Oh,
smoothed in.
It's just
Well, they're not gonna have looks like a silver, horizontal line. They won't have that.
And then you've got, it almost looks like a tin roof on the lower roof.
it is metal, I think.
No, that's solar.
Yeah, our panels the edging is black. It's all black.
But you don't have those predominant fringes,
No.
because I think that those make it much more obvious.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to do those. They, so. So, what do we have a motion? Oh, okay, Don, I thought you did the comment.
Looking at this
Oh.
photo.
Hey, John,
Then he's making just
okay.
a neighborly comment.
Just so you know, you're public. You're not voting on this. Just so you're aware.
I'm not voting on it.
No.
But
You
you
can
can,
make a comment.
John, you can still make your comment.
Yeah.
No? Oh,
I
You're gonna leave us
I
hanging?
don't know
Great.
where two streets are.
Oh,
The pictures here, it says,
These are
this one,
examples.
this one says go through it, and this one says Truro.
yeah.
They're examples in other
Here.
towns.
They're over there in
This one.
America.
That's what I'm trying to make a point on.
This is
I'm
the
trying to
trees.
ask a question. So, the roof shingles don't last
Do you guys
as
have a
long as
preference?
solar panels, right?
Of what?
Something like this.
The solar panels actually protect the roof, and they
No.
last seemingly forever under the panels. And I have all these documented pictures of people pulling the panels off, and the roof is perfect under the panels, and then on the side, they're gone. Yeah,
So, you can take the panels off to read.
yes, and it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, that's good to know.
So in terms of, before we make a motion, in terms of screening, you guys are okay with a couple of trees?
Can you,
Absolutely.
can you
Yeah,
tell
here.
us exactly, here's the one the plan I had
Take a look
submitted.
at that. It's the bottom one. It's just in 10, you see it? So just a couple of.
Chinese almonds.
I mean, I've used Chinese elm, they grow very quickly, they use them in various places, they're resistant to Dutch elm. Nice trees, nice bark, visually interesting. So if you guys are good with that, I just think it's gonna be more effective more quickly than evergreen, and it's probably gonna be cheaper,
Probably more attractive.
more attractive. So, motion to approve,
I have a question.
okay, I'm sorry.
Question. This shows.
Oh, that's the
panels
old,
going up
no, that's the old, application. We're now covering the whole roof.
Here,
there.
John.
Right, no, that's not good. They admit that. This blue, they're all gonna be black, right?
They're all black. The reason we have blue there, we make the line so you can see the panels, just for that graphic. Otherwise, it just keep it like black.
These give you a hard time.
Yeah, yeah, well,
So a motion to approve is submitted with the revision to the screening, which should be 2 deciduous trees located strategically to block from the
Say,
view
do
from
you
the
think,
road.
could I just add, do you think it would be good to say down closest to Pond Road rather than up by the house?
Here, can I have one and I'll just mark it Exhibit A? It'll be
And
easier.
can you add when the roof has to be reshingled to make it black?
And to reshingle black. Do you have a clean one of the evergreen plans? Somebody?
Here. I,
Aye.
Did you even make the motion yet?
he did.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like it's gonna include an exhibit A.
Exhibit A.
I got 2 trees towards the Pond Road, seeing Exhibit A, reshingle roof to be black. Right.
do you want the edging as well?
Yeah, I think that, don't you think that looks nice? I mean, I haven't seen it, but the way you described it, it kind of covers that gap, so you're not looking up through,
It
which
will do
seems like
that.
it would be a nice
The finishing touch.
finished touch. I mean, I presume it's just incidental cost, it's not like you're
Yes,
building a new
yeah.
roof, right? Okay, yeah.
So I'll call it edging along the,
What is it called?
I can't remember the name of the edging.
Accessory molding.
Yeah. It's a vertical.
So I just put on your Exhibit A, deciduous trees 2, and I'll put approximate location.
okay, we have all those in favor, it's passed, right? Right.
I
Aye.
good luck writing that one down.
She's got it, I think.
She's good at it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And Karen, just take a look, so there's not disaster. With very very visible up and down lines on the solar panels. I hadn't ever seen that before. You know what I mean? From that
Yeah.
last
Uriel Nutbuster today.
picture
Yeah, no,
of the
that's not.
Performing Arts Building. I'll tell you if it comes up like that.
I'm not getting flustered. Well,
Flustered.
You're getting me.
Hi, Ethan.
Hey.
Hey, welcome, Ethan.
God, you're back.
Huh?
I didn't make it last week.
I did. I saw the fog. I started to worry.
We had to be in New York City.
Yeah, well, don't leave anymore.
Ethan tomorrow.
Thanks, Ethan.
No, I heard it was fun last week.
That was fun.
That's what it's like.
What's our board? Right. Okay. So before we get started, I want to read a letter that maybe some of you have read. I certainly have. It comes from a neighbor, Lucy, and she and Kevin were unable to make it tonight. I think they're traveling. So it says to be read into the record. It has been mentioned at every hearing that the proposed height of the new dwelling is not in keeping with the HTC rural guidelines. We all together? Okay. This has yet to be determined by the applicant. The new structure is at the highest point on site, and at the highest point in the neighborhood, it should be no taller than 24 feet. A benchmark should be set in the field. Should the HCC allow a taller structure, please detail the findings relative to your decision. Signed respectfully, Lucy Dillon. So that is going to be entered into the record. Before we get started, I did a little bit of research on this because it's been a while since I read the rural road guidelines with the height issue in mind. But I did read it, and I just want to read you a couple of relevant passages before we get started. By the way, my version of this book might not be current because the one John sent me, the online version, which I think the language was a little different, but it's essentially the same sort of the same message comes across in both. Okay, so this is from my guidebook, page 129. We are talking about rural design. It is recommended that buildings not exceed. Who did that?
Watch the mic.
Excuse me. It is recommended that buildings not exceed 25 feet. And now Lucy references 24. I don't know exactly where that comes from, but exceed 25 feet in total height and not have any two-story walls. Obviously, yours doesn't have any two-story walls. This 25-foot height policy will be strictly adhered to in the open areas that are uninterrupted to the shoreline, such as along the south shore, or on the north shore here, where clumps of tall vegetation are found. Separate sentence. Where clumps of tall vegetation are found within the landscape, or where other special site conditions exist that could mask a structure site, a building of greater height than recommended may be approved. So that was one reference. And then the second is several pages later on page 139, where we're talking about bulk and scale. The bulk and scale of a building should be of moderate size so as not to reduce the apparent size of the hillside. A large house bulk is best broken into smaller adjoining parts. Since buildings are already elevated above their surroundings, they do not need to be tall to have a distant vista. Where the vegetation is not low, the building height may be raised accordingly. At the crest of the hill, where there is no backdrop for a building, its height should be restricted to 25 feet overall. Again, 25 as opposed to the 24 that Lucy references. So I'm not sure, I may have missed some language in here, I don't think that I did, but the number that's used is 25, and the number of 25 is kind of reserved to outwash plains and places like that where the vegetation is very low. Just wanted to say that for the record, because it's obviously something that has been somewhat contentious.
And it's
Do
also
you
guidelines.
also have out of there that houses are not supposed to be built on the highest spot of the property?
That
Correct.
course left the barn a long time ago.
I know, but we can
No,
bring it home.
so I'm not trying, I didn't want to insinuate my own opinion into this. I just want, because it came up in Lucy's letter and it has been discussed at prior meetings, I just want to,
Most of the outside areas that we try and maintain a height of is 25 feet. So the 24 feet, I don't know where that came from.
I don't, and I actually am very sorry that Lucy and Kevin could not make it tonight, but here we are. All right, so having said all that, so Ethan is
So
going to tell us
you
what
look at the first page, the site plan, you'll see the lot. And the lot is a hill, and the plateau is in the middle of the lot, and you can see in the green of the setback. So the lot is a hill. I mean, you can't do, really do anything about that. And the flattest part of the lot,
The green is very, very light on this.
yes, it's the way it's
So you guys have to look
It's a-
carefully to see the setback line.
It's the dash line to setback. So the house is within the setbacks. It's on the flattest point on the lot. The house is 25 feet high, 7 inches, plus or minus. Originally, it was a little shorter, but the first, so in your packet is on the top is the original submission. The bottom is the revised,
Sorry, so we're off the site.
Yeah, the site plan, yeah, it's just,
Okay,
it's a
off the
site,
site.
yeah. So if you go to the elevations,
We'll go to the elevations.
We don't have pictures of these.
on the elevations, on the top is the original submission. Then below it is the proposed submission based on your comments. The last page is the existing building that's there. The second to last page is the existing building as approved by the HDC. And then there's a page in there showing the two houses next to each other in elevation. They're 55 feet apart, as you would see if you're standing in front of it in 2 dimensions. The modifications I made from the original submission is the little secondary wart I lowered 2 feet. I added chimney. I reduced the amount of random windows to unify the windows. Deleted the 2 front doors and made one proper front door. I eliminated the patio. That was the original idea, was the house was going to sit on the ground and it would be a hardscape surface that would go right into the house, by putting a deck around it, which raised the house to 7 inches. So originally it was going to be about 25 feet. And the other thing is
Can I interrupt you?
yeah, sorry.
Does everybody understand that rather important point? It was actually, I think it was me, when Ethan first came in with this application, he had the house, basically the floor of the house went right, the finished floor went right out to a stone terrace, not a deck, stone terrace, which was at grade. The house was 25 feet high then. And one of the things that I said is, well, gosh, it would be better if there was sort of like a deck or a porch with a wood floor so that it didn't look like the house was sitting right on the ground. So he actually has gone from 25 feet in height to 25.7 in order to accommodate one comment that board member made, that board member being me.
Sorry, yeah. So,
Okay.
which is fine. I mean, and the thing is, the rural guidelines are guidelines and not set in stone rules.
Okay.
So, and the houses all over in the neighborhood are all around 30 feet, and they're all random. And I designed most of those houses around there with other designers and people through the years since the 90s. Anyway, so back to this. The other thing is, yeah, you're right. To the comment of the 8 pitch, I tried to, the existing house, if you go to the last page, or to the second to last page, is the approval of the existing house. And it's like a 9, I was trying to keep them similar in appearance because they are
This was the
close to open it all the way.
Yeah.
You can see the two houses next to each other as if you were standing there. That's the location on the hill, on the flat piece of the hill. So I was trying to keep the basic shapes similar. And
Did you say the second to last?
second to last page, you open it all, I'm sorry, this page. No, that last page is the original, this page. You open this page all the way up. Yeah, there's it's the two houses, if you were to stand in 2 dimensions looking at it, and that is the flat part of the lot, and they slope down in every
Which
direction.
sheet number is it?
It doesn't have a number, it's just
this one?
after.
It's,
Next one.
it's the third sheet.
Third from the last, yeah, so basically, yeah, so if you're standing on the south or the east, that's what you would see in 2 dimensions, right at that level. If you're going, the other views, the houses block each other, so I'm trying to keep the basic
This is
shapes
the thing.
similar. Yeah. Well,
No, Diane just asked me, is this the existing house? I
That's
think
the
this
approved
one
house.
is and this one is.
yeah,
And
so,
then the south and the east, you see.
yeah, because if you're, look at, so this is the, if you're standing on the east, this is what you would see. Standing on the west, you would see. If you're standing north and south, they block each other.
Right.
But this is the two that go together and these.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
what
that's-
you're proposing.
Well, that's how they would look here on the lot.
Gotcha.
Right.
They're 55 feet apart away from each other.
Which is to scale. This is.
Yeah, that's in scale.
And they're both on the same.
It's
line.
right on the flat part of the property, which is the top of the hill. Because the septic field is on the slope of the hill, and the other slope is, well, setbacks.
What was approved?
Okay.
That's your original house.
The last page is the original.
The last page, you asked for the original house, and on the site plan is a dotted line showing the location of the original house, which this new design sits on top of.
Want to see one? Okay, this is what, that's the original house.
West elevation.
This is a new house. That's the one that was on 215 Bassett that was moved and redone, a certain portion. Much of the silhouette, yeah.
Just one west elevation.
Different house, just here for us to see, like, tracking.
That's the,
This was replaced by this. Right, this page? This was replaced by this.
and all I did was build that and block out the wings. So on this plan, we just took off the 2 warts on either side, so the central core of the house is the existing house.
John, this is this,
Chimney Accord.
the new one, that replaced this.
Yeah.
Those are just for reference.
I don't mind this, it just was,
When was this?
This was approved,
Right here.
it was approved,
Next page, next page has it. Yep. Wait.
February 15th.
Yeah. No, that's when I submitted. It was approved,
it was approved and went to appeal for the,
it was approved last spring.
Oh, one of those, anyway.
Yeah.
but those are for reference.
Yeah. Did you ask for it?
Yeah, and then these are. This was what he brought in last time.
Here's the original approval, so no, this is for this building, never mind, sorry.
This is what he brought in last time. And we commented and he brought in this one. And then the same for these two. He brought in the last time and then we commented. Actually, Linda brought this in, remember?
That's why I'm here.
And then he made these changes. That's history. Well, that's not history. Just, I mean, that's why we have it, so we have a reference.
This house was approved somewhere along here, right?
That's the as-built, that's the existing building.
That's the existing one.
That's the one that's out there right now.
That's right there right now. That's,
Okay.
it's a random fence.
That fence is there
Yeah,
with the cross cut?
yeah, it doesn't go anywhere. It sticks, yeah. That's lattice. Yeah, lattice. It's lattice.
Yeah, we approved the lattice historically.
I don't know, it's been there for,
Oh, okay.
yeah, been there since you were in high school.
Hey,
So, no further comments?
No comment.
Okay. How about you, Mr. Walsh?
I'm gonna need just a minute, please.
Oh, okay, then, Diane?
Yeah.
What about you?
I think that it's not what was there, but I think, to me, those two sort of broken backs, this, that you see west and east, this one sort of gives you the shape of what the old house was.
That's what I was copying.
Yeah,
I was copying.
and I appreciate that. I appreciate the chimney.
And it's a real chimney. It's gonna have a fireplace.
Good.
We want to see smoke coming out
There's
of
gonna
it.
be
Little
burning these drawings.
And I don't mind the porch, putting it up 7 inches for that thing. I think it's a very simple house,
That's the idea.
and I think that's what it should be. And I appreciate the picking up those shapes, because I think that those people will notice better than the other stuff. And so they,
You know, that's what I was trying to copy.
yeah, so I think that's good. I think you did it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Stephen, are you already?
Stephen, you had the comment last
We got
about
a short board, huh?
the returns. I was copying.
I got it. That's what I wanted to
Okay,
check.
yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, I think a couple quick things is, I recognize the fact that this is a house on a hill. However, my concern would be that if you were to shift it, literally it's on the top, on the top of the hill. If you were to shift it 5 feet and pretty much,
You'll feel the illusion of being taller.
it's gonna have the illusion of getting taller because you're gonna have you're gonna see more exposed foundation. So that's where I would have concern shifting it from where it is. I do appreciate the fact that it is relatively low compared, I've been out there several times now. I was on the original 15 Bassett, and then I was out there a few times, I went on again a few times. So I appreciate the fact that you've kept this low, you've represented a lot of the additive massing or the similar vocabulary than the original home, and then the improved replacement.
And it's only like 900 square feet. I'm trying to shoehorn everything with building codes to.
Yeah, and I appreciate the changes you made. I do think on your south elevation, I wouldn't mind seeing a little less uniformity with the windows, but I know that other members of the commission have suggested the opposite.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're individuals, we have our own opinions.
But Ray brought up a good point about that, and I like the comment was originally, like you said, the original house was probably symmetrical, then all the additions were random, and that was the idea with the central box is symmetrical, the rest is random. Makes sense.
And thank you for bringing in the previous approval,
Sure.
to illustrate the dormer and the returns there.
That it? The only thing I'm going to add, out of deference to the neighbors mainly, but I think it's something that something that the board used to do more consistently when we had houses that were situated sort of at the top of the hill, was to memorialize where the finished floor is, just so that nobody plays games with the grade,
Benchmark?
in the process of construction. So I did some calcs, but then I looked and I saw that these are two-foot intervals. So is this contour thing that we're looking at, is this off of the town GIS?
This, I got this from the surveyors. The surveyor sent it to me, yeah.
Okay.
And I just took it and modified it to myself,
This is the real deal.
according to the surveyor, yeah.
Okay, because what I would propose as part of our approval of this is that the contour that both of these buildings sit on right now is 40. So if we assume a little bit of positive grading away from your new building, so let's say that the grade goes up to 40.25, positive pitch away. And then your finished floor is about 1 foot 3 inches off of grade, so that's 1.25. That someplace, either on a telephone pole or a tree or something that's fixed out on site there, that we would memorialize the first floor finished floor of 41.5, which is your 40.25 plus 1.25. And that would be our benchmark that we could refer to in the course of construction, at the end of construction, to make sure that everything, there hasn't been any tampering with grades.
42.5?
41.5.
So who does that, a surveyor?
A surveyor.
I've done this before with houses.
And John, have you ever gone out and witnessed that, or has this all been before your tenure?
I have, but it was downtown on a telephone pole, so it was much easier.
Actually, I just remembered, you were on a surveying crew, so you're familiar with this deal. Okay, so,
Can I ask a quick question?
yes.
What if, in this area, what if there isn't a phone pole? I didn't notice any, there's no telephone poles or
Can we just
there's
sell?
crub.
Usually you just have a surveyor.
I'll have the
put
surveyor.
it, and they certify it. I mean, they're not gonna lie.
Okay.
If there isn't something to memorialize it on, and these are set above sea level,
Yeah.
and we know that the height is 25.7,
Yeah.
can we just approve it, subject to a survey certification that it will be no more than 65'7" above sea level?
To the ridge.
Yeah,
If
well,
there isn't I mean, it's nice and convenient to have it out there, but if there isn't,
I didn't notice anything.
I don't
It's
remember
all those
seeing
small
anything, it was
shrubs,
all
yeah.
like sycamore, maple,
Well,
and different scrub.
I'm also good with the idea of, if this is a benchmark, and obviously, you have to run this by the surveyor.
Yeah.
And you have to look at my numbers and make sure that you're fine with them. If not, I think we should, talk again. But, assuming that all my calcs are good, that we, in some way, memorialize this, say that 41.5 is the finished floor, and at the end of the job, just warrant that it's.
I'll have the surveyor do that. I've done it on other projects in town. So out in the rural areas, I'll make it his.
Yeah.
They know how to do it. I don't.
Okay. All right.
Check and check.
Yeah.
All right. So it's like an elevation as-built is really what we're gonna do.
Exactly.
Hold on, John, I'm cooking gas here. John had a question.
Yeah, we'll figure out that one thing.
Hold on.
Hang in there.
So, quick question.
Yeah.
If you approve it, is it approved, does the surveyor have to send it to, how does that work? I mean,
Well, right now, I think the motion would include our 41.5 number for the finished floor.
so do we send a letter in from the surveyor to get the stamped drawings, so we can go for building permit? Because what I'm just questioning is, how does it, what's the next step? So have a surveyor send a letter with a picture of it identified?
We're approving this with the finished floor being at 41.5.
Yeah.
If you and your surveyor somehow think that my number is incorrect for whatever reason, we should discuss it again. If not, you have your approval, and just as long as at the end of the day, it's at 41.5, and we have something to warrant that.
Okay.
And John will sign it off, and we're good to go.
Perfect, then I'll just give
So
it to
you
the
don't
surveyor.
really need to do much.
Okay.
Okay. So, John, have you,
Yeah, he was just looking to see, he recalled there being a telephone pole that never got
well,
Sure.
thanks. Yeah, that would have been convenient.
Yeah,
Okay, I know.
Doesn't,
Can't
so-
see it with that, yeah.
okay.
there's a viewing platform.
In any case,
I know I've been on it.
can somebody give me a motion on this?
Yeah.
A motion to approve,
Okay.
including a survey of the benchmark, which will be at 41.5 at the finished first floor.
Correct. Very good. And that the surveyor will warrant that at the time of the HDC final inspection. All those in favor of Diane's motion? Okay. Aye.
Yeah, that's.
Thanks.
Doing that.
Okay. You don't need any of that. Next up, 33 Matticat Road. There's Luke.
Okay.
Hi.
Steve,
Do it.
Ed?
just saying. I've been here.
Paul Coombs, Oliver, and Love.
Very good.
So, it seemed to me that there was an overall feeling that it would be nice to somehow create a greater separation of these two buildings. The general concept we're trying to keep in the red barn being on the left with an attached small link, and then a cottage, a small farmhouse sort of concept on the right. And there were some suggestions that the rear portion be which was at an angle, be swung on the diagonal, which we did. We made the main mass slightly less wide by 2 feet. We separated the two, what I'll call the two buildings, by 13 feet. We added a one-story mass to the right-hand side. I'm really talking about the south elevation as the primary. That's the primary visible elevation. I added a little one-story mass on the right to sort of be more of an additive mass that made this again appear more as this little farmhouse effect. The connecting roof in between the two buildings we lowered, and we changed the fenestration just to totally separate the two buildings, so that it really becomes this more of a transparent link. We would ask you to keep in mind that the left-hand building is only 22 feet high, and the right-hand side is only 24 feet. And there's a lot of little bitty changes which all have been clouded on all of these different elevations, but as general moves, I think that sort of outlines what we did. I'll take that back on the east elevation. We made a much nicer fenestrated elevation, which is visible from the road, I think, by aligning the windows on the top and bottom and making them more conventional. I don't think the rear, we believe that the rear is not visible in the public way. And our concept is, with the area behind the pool and the patio, that none of this is visible.
Right. Want to go? Yeah, great. John, you're not on it, but if you want to give a citizen's comment. I'll come back to you.
I only had 3 points to make. One, of its viewability was highly visible. I know the property. But
You
I
think
was fine.
from the back?
From the back, yes, you've got that town-owned road going up through the wetland in the back. There's all houses back there. You can see the whole back of this too, so I'm saying, I would question the visibility of it, that the commission look into that factor.
Is that Westchester Extension?
The citizen comment.
You can barely see the thing right here. I've been down that road. I think it's Westchester Street Extension.
Well, see, the structures from one end to the other, from the north elevation, is 82 feet. And I wrote down the height is 28 feet on the rear. I guess that's the rear.
Yeah, that's back, definitely.
And the other roof is a little shorter. Look at my phone, I think it's shorter.
Diane, are you ready? I can come back to you.
Yeah, I just have some questions. I was gonna see whether the answers were from the last one to this one. So that would be good if you just come back to me in there.
And Stephen, you're probably looking at that road back there?
Yeah, and then I gotta look at the drawings.
Okay, and Val, are you?
Yeah, I appreciate a lot of your changes, Luke. In totality, I think the last remaining thing for me is this connector having its glass all the way through.
Is that really, I saw that too, and I was wondering, because it's kind of hard to read on the elevations. It looks like it looks like one is just a single light French door.
Right.
And then there's
Right.
two side lights that,
And then there's like pilasters or something.
There's two stationaries and an entry door.
Okay.
that is a little bit of a concern for me, or a lot of a concern. Is there a way to make it look like it was an open porch that was filled in? You know,
That's what I
like
was trying to do.
Yeah.
It almost invites you having more glass rather than less.
Well, and not to the floor. It would be windows.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing is the shutters, the two up in the gable. I don't know, maybe it's the pattern of,
Yeah.
it looks a little busy, but a lot of the changes you made have really made it a difference for me.
I agree.
All right.
But let me make sure that Val's finished.
I am.
Okay. Diane?
I have a problem with the shutters. Anyway, I don't know what design you're thinking of, but the drawing that you made I don't think that they are what I would like. On the connector that's all glass, are you going to, Luke, are you going to be able to see through that so that when you're driving down the street, you're going to be able to see to the property behind?
I thought that was what you all were asking when I was here last, was to be able to see right through there.
Well,
Were you counting that as a positive or a negative, that it would be transparent?
I think, I don't know, sort of as the negative. How close is this up onto the street?
Very.
Yeah.
Oh, back, and then you're looking right at that spot, right? And then you're gonna see the swimming pool in the back of it. This is the
Yeah.
glass thing. I think that at night, particularly, if they have activities going on that back deck, you're going to see right through to the pool. This pool is directly behind it.
You'll probably see the light. The grade steps down.
I got 18 where the thing begins, and the pool is at approximately 16, elevation 19.5, so it's really not too far down.
It's not, you're correct. Okay.
I think it fits. If that glass isn't necessary and you brought the buildings together closer, it would take the building off the left-hand sideline a little bit, which would be good, because the houses down around that number of Nantucket Road usually don't run from sideline to sideline. There's more room, and you've got the horse barns there and stuff. Larry Cronin lives all the way down, so it's kind of sparsely inhabited right up by the street. So I don't know whether you could do that, whether that knocks out too much of your program, but it doesn't seem to be too much except an entry.
Well,
So,
I could look at the idea of not having so much glass on the street side, which would go back to what I had before, and like last week, a solid door or, it doesn't have to be
Yeah,
all.
I think, that doesn't bother me. I don't remember saying I wanted the glass. I just don't think that it's so good of seeing through. We usually try.
Okay,
and
well, I
avoid-
misunderstood. I thought that's what you all were asking for.
Oh, that's all right. And that's about all. The rest,
Okay. That sounds good. Stephen?
Okay, Luke, I appreciate the changes, in particular, removing that angle on the secondary mass at the rear, and really the tertiary mass. I think that makes a big difference in the overall presentation. More little things, I guess, would be to agree the diagonal shutters, I think they just make it, the diagonal board, I don't know if it's a rendering matter or if you hadn't resolved the shutter design yet. But that makes it look, I think, inappropriate in that it's very busy, and a barn-like structure would tend to be a little less busy. The barn doors on the east, on the south elevation, the mass with the cupola, are those functional or are they faux?
They would be stationary.
Okay, and then I think the diagonal there too is I'm just having a problem processing that. With respect to the connector, which is almost like an enclosed breezeway, insofar as what I would deem appropriate would be something along the lines of, I don't mind that you've added fenestration there. I think if you were to put in a almost like panelized side lights, so for instance, you'd have a halfway up would be more along the lines of the door you drew, which would be a combination of maybe that door and then a panel with a set of lights above it on each side as side lights. I understand they're spaced further apart. I don't see an issue with that. It gives it a sense of like a structural space in there that was kind of filled in. But that would help to block that sense of seeing through the space.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure, what, imagine it would be like some type of a two light
Could it just be a
configuration.
window? Do you think?
Yeah, or a window or just two windows, something.
I think side lights makes that the main entrance, and even though it is, I think you're trying to make the other door look like the main.
Yeah, and if it's, yeah, that's a good point. And I think if it were windows, it would pull up your fenestration, your AC between the barn doors. You've got the A window flanked by the two A's flanking the C.
That works.
You could do something similar, but it would be a door configuration with your number one door. I did look at the roadway in the back. It is a pretty good distance away. John is correct, however, that it is visible. But to address the rear, which is your north elevation, I don't see changes necessary for that side connector piece. It's not going to be viewed. I don't think it's really going to be visible. It's going to be distant, visible in the distance from that unused road. And then when you address the front side, which is your south elevation, you're not going to see through it
Yeah,
anyways.
I see.
So that's what I have to offer.
Thank you, Steve. So, Luke, I think that most of the changes that you made are very positive. I have no objections to the connector getting a little bit narrower. To Diane's point about just that would, you have these little sort of mini closet / bookshelves on either side. I think if you lost those, then you basically have made the building 2 feet, the overall building 2 feet narrower without sacrificing much, unless they really wanted those cabinets for some reason. Then you could pull out a little bit more off of the setback. I'm fine with all the discussion about how to deal with the connector in terms of transparency and something other than what we're looking at now. Regarding the shutters, I think one of the issues is that the line weight that you chose for the diagonals is kind of heavier than it would really be. I think there's examples of diagonal shutters, but I think to be safe, the previous vertical ones, I think, would be just fine in terms of cottaging. And also, I just wonder why you have the barn doors sort of framed out. Usually the barn doors
guess I have to look at the detail. I mean, it's a preference. I would agree that the owner certainly loved the idea of the diagonals, but if you guys prefer the verticals for shutters, we do think that the shutters contribute to the overall look of the.
Oh,
I don't
I
think we
didn't
did
hear anything
take
shouting
long.
to shutters at all. I think that the reaction was more to the diagonal. And honestly, I think that if it were rendered in a lighter line weight, it would be less noticeable on drawings. I also feel that, when it's actually built, you're not going to read it as aggressively as you look at the drawing.
Or if there's some other ones around, we could go look at. I just
Yeah,
never seen
I
them.
mean,
I'll go look at some and take some photos then for you.
sure.
Yeah.
I think that would be great.
Unpersuadable.
Okay, so I think that's it. A couple of small changes, but I think definitely your last pass brought it. It's very much improved.
Motion to hold for a relatively minor revision.
All those in favor of Stephen's motion? Aye. Anybody else in favor of it?
No.
There we go. Okay. Any more, Luke?
Oh, I guess the pool did not tag along.
Oh, we probably got approved on consent. Thornwell Pergola. Oh, no, that's.
Was it signed up with it?
Not outside of that.
All right, sorry.
This is, oh yeah, you're not on, you were not.
Okay, thanks, Luke.
Okay.
10 Brant Point Road.
Oh, Nancy's here.
Mine should be these.
That's the key. Set those expectations.
That's what Matt McKecker always says. Oh, yeah, well,
You guys are gonna prove this in a second.
sends us a stack of drawings like this. Oh, I don't know why it wasn't approved on.
Oh, this is
consent.
gonna be easy.
This was the,
I don't know why we did this.
that was it, right?
That was it.
What was it?
Oh, yeah, we made you come back. Yeah, that was okay, if every, I guess I should ask for the board on this.
Old News, McLaughlin, Oliver, and Welch.
Okay.
Alternate order.
Very good, thanks. Okay, I'm pretty sure that what we asked for last time was that the casement windows, or whatever they were, up in the dormers, get switched to double hungs. That, I believe, was the
Can we,
Oh, yeah. Jerry,
Oh, yeah,
I'm actually recused from this, so I can't be an alternate. Just so you know.
can we make the B windows, like on the west elevation, the same as the A windows?
No, I think you asked that before, it's because the door is here.
Oh,
the A
Can we ma-
windows are way larger than the B windows.
Yeah,
no, I don't mean, what's this window?
that's a B.
Oh. That's the better looking, I don't know, it must be your drawing machine, because the B windows down on the west elevation look very square, and the ones up at the top on the east elevation.
Wow, no, I agree with you, Diane, that's so weird.
Isn't
Because
that
they're
weird?
further away.
Further away.
Just seeing if you buy it.
They are
But
the
if,
same
but
window.
when I look at the panes, they actually, I mean,
See this?
Yeah,
I think
don't
it's
the-
just because there's such a differential between the two window sizes. The panes are very vertical still.
But these aren't vertical, but these are more vertical than
One is
those.
also shaded. They're the same size.
Yeah,
Yeah.
certainly scaled them.
yeah, no, they're the same.
Anyway, they're gonna be the same window.
They'll be the same.
They are.
No concerns. Thank you for the changes.
John,
I have one question. It's 1 foot required from the first floor down to the porch.
no, what that is, John, is the first floor has to be 1 foot above the floodplain. And that, the reason for that is because that's where all the framing is, and the framing's, when the big flood comes, is supposed to get wet.
Floodplain, yeah.
Here.
Oh, yeah, okay. 8 foot.
Which we're gonna start to
Thank you.
require.
This fancy drafting machine. Yeah, you should get.
John, you're okay?
What did you
All
guys
right.
start doing?
And somebody make a motion?
Make a motion for it submitted.
Thank you, Lowell.
We haven't voted on it yet, Nancy. You never know what might happen. All those in favor of Stephen's motion?
I.
Aye. Oh, you're approved.
I'm going.
Now you're ready.
Get ready to be quick.
Yep. Brass lantern, Julie.
Made me come back too.
Julie, Georgia,
Yeah, what was this about?
My drawing was a little late.
it was fine.
Enough detail.
Some plants needed to put in.
Yeah, you know.
The ACC's approving landscaping.
Right, I would like to present my revisions.
Sure, absolutely. That's why you're here. Board,
Whole Foods, McLaughlin, Oliver, and Welch.
you can serve as an alternate. So Julie, you can start.
So the things that I added to the plan for better clarity is a photo from the street showing the hedging. And I also added elevations. So the existing elevation of the street is 8 foot and the driveway is 8.5 feet. And then you step down to a brick patio in the, behind the hedge that's 6.5 feet at elevation. And then you step down 2 more steps to 5.5 feet. So the top of the pergola would be very difficult to see from the street. And I did embellish it with a lot of planting, which the client has always intended, so that's not something that we weren't intending to do. I also just kind of shortened up the back of the patio to allow for more planting behind it so that it would be more obscured and seem more nestled, to Diane's point.
Thanks.
No, it's low to a benchmark of 8 feet.
Julie, what
I
are the
think it's
little
sea level.
squares on the
It's
corner?
from the survey, yeah.
Julie, Val had a question.
Yeah.
What's the little squares on the corners? Is that the posts?
That's the plants. That's the plant symbol for the roses.
Oh,
And those are the beds that the roses would be in.
okay. I was hoping it wasn't lights.
No, no lights.
Oh, I see, yeah, there's squares taken out of the patio that allow the roses to grow.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Do you want to continue, Val?
I have no concerns.
Okay. Diane?
No, Julie's done what I asked, which was to make it so they could grow up on the, sides and stuff, and I don't think, if it's dropped down that far, I think the only people that are gonna see that is the house next door looking down, but that's tough.
And that's another inn, so I think they probably don't want it.
They'll be in next week.
And it won't be.
Yeah,
a
they'll be
bad-
in next week for a pergola.
It won't be a bad thing to look at anyway.
All right, no, it'll be pretty.
pergola.
Stephen?
I think it's appropriate. It'd be nice.
I have one question. What's the height of this?
8.6 at the bottom.
So, 8,
Oh,
6.
as you see, it'll be higher than the hedge, just on the top. Thank you.
Thanks, John. I've made nothing to add, other than that, there is a pergola that's like completely 100% fully visible that this board approved, right at the corner of Broad Street and,
Oh,
Broad
at the culinary corner?
Yeah.
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 Consistency.
You can't be too overly
And it's
critical
white.
of this one. Yeah, that is white.
And it's bright
Okay,
white.
so can I have a motion?
Motion to approve as submitted.
Thank you.
All those in favor of Diane's
Have a good
motion?
night, everybody.
Aye, bye, Julie. Okay. Oh, now, this is the tough one for the night.
Just say, oh, this is gonna be easy.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Should I leave my coat on or off?
You can run faster with it off.
They were trying to get you to represent Andrew's stuff.
Oh, wait, I skipped over
No, thank you.
That's what I
Enough.
said, no.
I have to
You come up.
win my own fight first.
Right. Exactly.
You know what, I just want to say this because I went out there, took my tablet.
Oh, good for you, yeah.
The only rendering we don't have, or I didn't see, which I think would have been helpful to your case, is actually from the level of the beach, looking up.
For the picture.
Because these are all like helicopter views.
Yeah.
Which, is okay, it's
Yeah.
not,
Well, there is
There is
this.
page 2.
yeah, but it's not, this is probably,
I'll pass around some pictures I have
if
This
you,
looks like it's taken
from
right at
standing
the
at the
property
beach.
line.
What's the order of
if
this
you're,
store?
you're probably about 10 feet tall.
Yeah, and it's 300 feet away.
Sorry, John, could you say that again?
Everyone here, except for Keaton.
Jeff, sorry.
Yeah,
Right.
so it's like 10 feet, yeah. Bill, you and I went out and looked at this.
The beach is 10 feet lower than,
I
But
think-
you can see the house that's there. This is standing
Oh,
on
so-
the beach.
Yeah, I'm not,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I'm not suggesting you can't see it, I'm just saying that the picture, the rendering shows it more visible than it will be.
yeah.
Why? Well, just to, well, the point behind the rendering wasn't,
No, this is what she brought back based on our request for
Yeah.
additional information.
and Stephen, I appreciate, but I guess the point was for me to make clear what actually the structures are, and you
Yeah.
are correct, like if I try to resemble the real views.
I think you're correct.
Yeah.
that The request was a better understanding of what was going where. I was just saying as, having been there,
And it's not even 10, Stephen. It's actually when you look at the existing contours, the beach is at the contour number 2, 3, and my bottom of the walls is 20. I cannot see that. What is it? It's like the top. The pool is at 23. The bottom would be 19 or higher. So I'm almost 20 feet over the water.
so it's even more than.
It's even higher, yeah. It's almost 20 feet grade change from the beach. And so just to kind of, since we talked from the beach elevation, so I took your suggestions. I work on the height of the walls. And the only walls which would be 4 feet of the height, if you can follow me, would be the portion of the wall which is directly, maybe this might be better, I guess, is directly coming off the side of the pool,
That's the only one that's 4 feet
which
high.
would be 4 feet high, okay? And I just want to
So you're not
place.
seeing any of that.
May I just want to, so we are all on the same page. So I work with the height, with the walls, so I try to bring more grading, so only 4 feet, real 4 feet walls are these blue walls I highlighted. To minimize the screening beside Stephen Point, I am 300 feet away, and I am from the beach, and I am 20 feet up in the air. I am bringing the landform, which is right in front of the pool and receiving area, which you can see on one of my cross sections. And even on these 3D versions, kind of it suggested the landform. So actually, you might end up seeing just the first 12 inches of the wall. The top 12 inches, yeah. If I purposely make those cross sections a little bit bigger, so it's on the second page of the big plan. So this is the landform which I added. That can be yeah. So that would be right in front of the pool. Okay, so that's using landform, but I still need to keep my 4 feet there for the pool enclosure. The rest of the walls are actually only 2 feet because I am berming the planting around to try to meet, to bring the grade a little bit up high and eliminate the height of the walls.
So I'm really working with the grade. So the rest of the walls are on average 24 inches. This will be for the area visible from the beach.
Yeah, it's good to get all these sections.
And I just don't wanna, I wanna, if we can stay on this elevation, just so we are all clear before we move to the tennis court and the driveway. Does that make sense? Val, Diane, do you have any?
I have a hard time imagining I'm not gonna see this.
Yeah, me
And
too.
just from the pictures I have,
How are you not going to see the tennis court? You can't.
that's
there-
in back of that.
I thought that was on this side of it.
It's right here, so the tennis court's back here.
Are we, Diane, when you say how are we not gonna see the tennis court, do you mean from the water or from the
No,
road or both?
from Eel Point Road.
So, I'm not gonna do Mira's work for her, but if you look at the last page of the big drawings,
Yeah.
L2, and this is something that we requested of her the last time that we were in.
Yeah,
This is a, so she has two site sections. She has one, well, actually, both of them show the tennis court, but the one up top shows the tennis court and its relationship to Eel Point Road, which is the right-hand most piece.
Right,
where
I
the
know she's
cars-
gonna put that berm in.
Gonna put the berm in, and also, you see how she's actually cutting into the grade. That dotted line, it's the.
Right,
it's
I
the
remember you told me about it
angled
last time.
dotted line is the current grade, which means that the tennis court is actually getting cut into the ground.
This is
Right.
the line of existing grade.
And that's
right now.
where it is. And you're going to be allowed to dig that much out?
Yeah. We are already digging for septic, and we are
Who
digging.
would object to that? I mean, most people are more worried about you adding.
Well, usually, I mean, there used to be some amount of movement that you could make, Phil, that you could remove.
The point, well, the point of this creating of the sunken tennis court was the visibility.
Right.
So we try to integrate the tennis court and the septic field in the same area and lower it as much as possible, because as you can see, Diane, so this is my existing grade. This
Right.
is what is actually happening right now, right? That's the buffer
Right.
undisturbed.
And you're gonna cut into the
And
driveway.
then, exactly, so then, if you don't mind, Valerie, then this is my existing grade, so I am meeting my existing grade right
Right
here.
there,
So
and
I
then
just.
dig it out for there.
Exactly, to get me down, and here was the another, like a section, how practically this, which you had a hard time last time, envision the wall, so we will cut in to this portion of the street berm, and that was the wall I needed to help me to get to the garage.
And you still got the
below.
berm over here.
Yes.
So they won't be able to see over this corner.
Exactly, and I'm still berming even this, like
Over
a
there.
T, which is at the split of the driveway to,
Yeah.
again, enhance the screening.
Because the vegetation out there doesn't seem to be very tall. It seems to be, short from coming up from the beach. And it's, hard to put from the beach.
Well, looks like a garage, is this the garage, drive-under garage right here?
I'm sorry about
On the other side of the
Tennis court?
tennis court,
this.
right here?
Yes, here,
So that's
Valerie.
actually higher than the house.
Yeah, this is a foot higher than the parking, and the house is actually going down with the grade.
Oh.
So the guest house and garage are meeting the existing grade, and then as the grade slopes towards the water, we are actually going down, so.
That's why we need to do these all together with the houses, because I didn't realize that.
It's right here, it's right here. The cross-section's right here, Valerie. It's
No,
exactly.
I know, but am I crazy?
That's the
Wait.
same thing, I just split it, the same cross-section in two sections of that
Yeah.
building. And
Val,
Yes.
which drawing you looking at?
I'm looking at the cross-section.
HDCL2.
Which one?
The last page.
No, but the bottom one or the top one?
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
Both.
they're the same, aren't they?
Well, okay, but I want to call your attention. They're not exactly the same, because I think you're missing a part.
You're missing the main mass. Of
Yeah, the main mass.
That little
Do you
gate.
see that little triangle?
Yes,
On the, you can only see it on the bottom drawing.
yeah.
Right.
That's actually, that's the main ridge of the main house, not the much lower piece that you see. That's a side view you're looking at. So, the main house is definitely taller than the guest house in like absolute terms, but it's
Yeah, I see it.
it's even taller than the guest house. If you draw a straight line across, that ridge is taller than the guest house, even though the guest house is sitting at a higher elevation. For whatever difference that makes.
Yeah, it just doesn't look it. Not that there's anything we can do about it now, it's already
Yeah, the
approved,
houses are up.
but it's unfortunate. I wish
But,
we had had
but
these.
what would you have preferred, I guess?
Something smaller.
For the guest house?
No, the garage, I'm just on the
I thought the
garage.
garage and the guest house
The
were.
garage is the guest house.
Yeah, they're the same building.
There's two cottages, really, the pool house is a cottage too.
Right. But the one that I think that you're taking issue with is the garage guest house.
The one that you drive under.
Correct.
Why?
Why? Just because it's a one big long mass when you look
Why
at
do
it.
why do they have it drive under garage out on the moors? The dunes?
You know,
So we're approved, huh?
well, it is, but see, you're caught in the crossfire because, you're now looking to sort of have a landscape plan approved that is essentially required for the buildings that Andrew had approved earlier.
Just so that's why I wanna make them together from now on. Like, we have
Yeah,
to have the
yeah.
hardscape approved with the house.
But I'm gonna say, I think I said it the last time, all of that underground subgrade garage stuff is frankly, in my opinion, good news because you're not gonna see any of it.
Well, I don't care about that, it's merely the elevation and the height of that building in back of this. Now, yes, you said you can't see it, but I think this is a misconception because this is not in front of that, a wing is in front of
Wait,
that.
what,
So the
what do you-
garage, I
which
believe that the garage
Still the same page.
is higher than the wing that it will be over.
I wasn't on it. No, you're a little.
Look at the 3D view, see what you are.
okay, so Val, which 3D are you looking
Well, no, page 3,
at? Page 3 on the 3Ds,
yeah,
I just don't
Okay.
understand what you're.
All right, so page 3 on the 3Ds, and
and then, page 5,
of the 3Ds,
yes.
okay. And what's troubling you about that?
What's troubling me is that this building is higher, even though it's behind the house. It's not higher than the middle of the house, but it's higher than the wing.
Right.
And it's more beside the wing than it is the main house, and it's a moot point because it's already approved, we're talking about hardscaping. I'm
Well,
just
but
using this as an example of how,
Yeah.
these are so complicated to me, these kind of landscapes with the ups and the downs and all this stuff. It really has to come together when the application for the house comes in.
Not all new dwelling applications come along with ever in hardscape plan sometimes.
Well, maybe they should.
But with this kind of up and down and integrated
No, I
hardscape,
understand what you're saying.
the low grade this, upgrade
Very
that,
complicated, quite a project.
At least two sophisticated ones.
and she's done a good job. I think if we had had something similar to this, it would have been.
So I'm just going to respond to the higher than thing, because there's a lot of, how do I say this? If you have a guest house that's 22 feet high, and it's 50 feet off of the road, and you have a main house that's 30 feet high, and it's 100 feet off the road, the guest house is going to loom over the main house, even though it's 8 feet shorter, because perspective.
Right,
So-
so you just proved my point.
Well, no, I'm just saying that, like, that's just the way it is, that the guest house is lower than the main house, but from Eel Point Road, it's going to be closer to you and therefore larger and more of a presence than the main house will be.
So
That's
is
just
this
kind of
not the architect's position to put his houses in such a way that it doesn't work out that way?
But someone
Well,
approved
that's,
it.
right, and I think that this is just a lesson, this is a learning moment from now on with these grade manipulations in this extensive landscape. I struggle with this, so I'm gonna take myself off of this, because I can't make any sense of it.
No, I don't want, I would rather that you didn't do that. Because, you know, we are a board.
No, I know,
And
but-
if something isn't making sense, then what we try and do is make sense of it,
Yeah.
or change it.
Yeah, now I think I understand what your Diane's concern is. I mean, to overly summarize it, is that with respect to grade, the smaller house with the garage seems taller and has more of a presence than the main house, even though the main house is larger cubic volume.
Right.
So the question I have, just out of curiosity, and you may not know, if I'm looking at page 5 of the 3Ds,
Right.
and then I look at page, forgive me, yeah, I think it's 3, page 4. So if you look at page 4 and you see the structure that's of concern, and then you turn to page, which is, let's just call it the second dwelling, and you turn to page 5, on both pages you see that that structure is actually higher to grade, and almost like it has little platforms around it for patios and whatnot that are tiered. And I'm just wondering, in the interest of, if you know, in the interest of addressing concerns moving forward, whether that structure itself could be lowered so that if you look at page 5, the plateau in front would not need to be, it looks like it's probably 1, 2, 3, 4 steps, so it's about 32 inches taller. If
That
it,
would
if
bridge
it had
down.
any room to come down a little bit so that it's not, so it is a little more, it's not gonna be subordinate in terms of height,
Yeah.
but it would be less, I don't know if you know,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's,
What you're suggesting is there would be less grade differential
Yes.
between the main house and the garage guest house.
which would lower the guest house, and I think it's not gonna totally address the concerns of the commissioners, but it would help, certainly. And it would also, I mean, just from an architectural standpoint, I'm looking at page 5 of the 3D, and to me, this reads as, although it's a subordinate cubic volume, the guest house is actually the predominant structure on the site where the person who owns the property lives, and then the rest of it is kind of subordinate, even though it has a better view. It's higher up, it's got a better vantage point.
It's all by itself. Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're not redesigning the layout for someone or whatnot, I'm just making an observation based on my understanding now of what Diana Bale's concerns were, and I'm wondering if, and we did this, I think, with Matt McEachern had a property not too long ago where it was lowered a foot relative to
Yeah.
grade.
Yeah.
And it made I think it would make a difference, I don't know.
Can I just respond, and you are right on it, so I will, something that you brought to my attention, I actually, because these 3D were done with the filing, and, they have a vacation, they have, the New York people have this big vacation, so I couldn't actually have them to revise them, truly what I actually changed. So you are absolutely correct. The difference between these two structures is I believe so initially was around 5 feet, exactly. The plan which I actually presented to you, which is the big plan, I already dropped the guest house 2 feet lower, which actually reflects on the cross-section of the big plan, but it does not really, it's misleading on this. I was really more focused on the hardscape, so I thought it will be enough to just understand the space.
I think the issue is people are looking at those perspectives and are all coming to the same.
So I'm very happy to come next time just to revise this because I felt the same way.
So the rendering, I'm sorry, just to make sure I'm clear, the rendering actually overstates the height difference between
Yes.
the guest house and the
That's
2
correct,
feet.
by 2 feet, yes.
Which is a significant amount.
And which allowed me actually even eliminate, you can see that little cross wall on the page. I'm sorry because I don't have the pages.
Oh, where you X'd it out?
That exit out, so practically dropping the
yeah.
house, it's allowed me to even eliminate that
was,
portion of the
that's on
retaining.
page 4.
Exactly.
So what we're talking about is this structure is actually approximately 2 feet lower than is shown in this drawing, which allowed her to get rid of this and it's up to Diane, if it helps them, but it lowers this structure by about 2 feet.
This.
Okay, thank you. That's important.
I didn't want to interrupt, and I'm happy to come back next with the updated, revised, if the 3D will be.
I actually think that would be tremendously beneficial,
Just-
because, the perspectives
Yeah.
are not helping in terms of the guest house thing at all.
Okay.
Do we wanna give any more comments before we send Mirka back?
No, it's one of the things she's gonna reconsider is the height of the guest house.
The
And
truth is,
steps.
She's already brought it down, but that's not evident from the material that we're looking at right now.
Right, so she's gonna do something with that.
yeah, I'm going to give you updated set of these, Diane,
Okay.
which actually reflects the plan you have in front of you.
And frankly, look at it with a critical eye. Look at it as if
Yeah, and that's
you're
actually
one of us.
why I actually changed the grades of the grade house, because I felt seeing these, that it was too dominant.
This
to
is
the-
very helpful.
Yeah, it was
Thank
helpful
you.
to me too. And, but
But it highlighted what is an issue, obviously an issue, because Mirka changed it before she even came before the board.
So you put a critical eye to it too.
Okay.
The only other thing I would suggest is, because it did come up as a concern Diane voiced, is if you could get this is a great shot, but if you could get more of this
Okay.
and another one,
okay,
so we get a better idea of the actual relative heights of the Oak Point Road, the grade, and then the tennis court.
understand.
I think
Okay.
I'd like to understand that a little better too, so I think the visual might help. I know you have it in a section,
Yeah.
but having the three-dimensional, I think, is helpful.
So, yeah, well,
Yeah, this helps a lot where it's hard,
Yeah.
where it's
Great.
based on the straight elevation.
And I would like, if you're gonna do renderings, I would like to see one from literally beach
Yeah.
distance, beach height.
Okay.
And we've got them.
yeah, I mean,
Because I know there's a pool at 201 and
There's one right past this.
191 Eel Point.
That
Yeah,
way, but
2
the
houses
house-
up and then 4 houses up.
and there's right next to
But it's
this
not
one.
as much building.
Are they visible?
I didn't see them, but
And
that's
the
why I'm
sports-
kind of curious what.
Oh, pool.
Yeah, I'm not saying those justify this by any stretch of the imagination.
No, I'm just
At this point,
curious
I'm just
if
looking
they're
for
visible.
information so we can make an informed decision. This is a big house, it's gonna have a visual impact, we wanna make a good decision.
John, I'm sorry, you've been wanting to say something for a while there.
I go to page 4 on this thing.
Or
Uh,
on the wall.
Looking at the right in the center, the center building, right up on the roof, it's shed dormers.
Yes.
But the misconfiguration on the third one, there's a line across. Is that glass?
Yeah, I think that's the computer, John, is putting in all these funny lines.
Yeah, oh, okay, all right.
We have all these extra lines that we don't want to see.
I'd like to go back to the L2 on the big plan. Right. Now, my understanding is that if you have a pool, it has to be less than 4 feet around, preferably by a fence. Now, looking at this drawing on the swimming pool, there's a door on the right with side lights.
Correct.
If you come out that door, a kid, and walk over, you're gonna fall in the water. There's no fence or top of it.
John, this, if you take a look at number 3, page number 3,
On the,
on the 3B. So if, it's, again, the elevation, so this is the body of the pool. The door and the door you refer, it's coming out of this little pergola. So it's not,
No problem with that. I wanna know why isn't the pool fenced in? A
It
kid
is.
comes out that door, he'll fall in the pool.
Well,
We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
So when you have doors, if you have a pool and you don't have a fence and you have a door of a building, the door has to have an alarm on it, so that when somebody goes out that door, they know that the kid's going out the door and they could potentially be going in the pool. That's one thing, and then the other one is you have to have
Automatic.
a pool, automatic
pool cover. Yeah, and in this case, we will have
you know,
automatic
so
pool cover.
that at night they cover up the pool.
Okay,
Yeah.
my question to that was that getting to this, if you don't come out that door, if you're over here, you can walk across here.
Well, it's illustrated, I have a fence on the big plan, so the gate, it's highlighted on the other set of plans. So you have a gate here,
I can see
okay?
that.
So this is the fence here with the gate, and then all this, it's fenced with the gate all around here with the gate. So, but this is the tennis court application, so it is highlighted on the other set of the plans, which is just for the
Well,
pool.
you should have brought us right.
Well, they are there. They are there. But yes, so the pool is fully enclosed with the fence, and then this is the only section on my 4 feet wall between.
Okay, let me go a little bit further. On page 3, you look at the, to the right of the building that has 2 chimneys, right here.
Okay.
Any second floor deck off the wall has to be 8 feet, and this here looks about 16.
I understand that's the architectural part, yeah.
Guess what? What you're looking at is changes that Andrew, you know, Andrew was the architect. He made changes to this. He put these decks on. He was supposed to be up for that tonight's agenda, but he's not here, so we're holding it over. So those decks that you're looking at are not approved yet. And nor will they be if you did.
To me, this miscommunication is so disturbing, you know? They come in so many times, people do, you know? And they change this, and then they change it, but you can't, they don't bring in what was approved
Right.
2 meetings ago
Yeah.
or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
It's, that was my question on that. I don't know, all right.
Yeah, those, John, those decks are
You can't get through to
definitely
that
not
pool.
approved.
This is a picture of the existing deck.
Yeah, from the beach.
If you look at it, like I said,
So,
beach,
yeah,
which is kind of what I want to see the beach shot.
okay.
Top of the water, basically, all right? And this
Can I keep this or that's for?
existing topography coming over,
Yeah.
that's gonna be there. What is going to be from here up to block this coming this way? Is this all filled in?
Here,
It's a concrete wall.
This. You're looking at the water in here, right?
Right.
As though someone cut through here. This is what you're looking at. You're looking at this water as if they got rid of this and you're standing there looking that way. This is what's on this side of it. The rest of the pool, the deck, and then the grade slopes.
Okay.
Just so you know.
I just like to understand it.
Yeah.
It's important you do.
A lot on it.
I'm not dumb, shut up.
Yes,
I don't say you're dumb.
sorry. Terry would like to make a comment. Yes, yes, please.
Um,
Resident of 26 North Main,
Yes.
and I submitted a letter, and in the letter, I verbally noted that this would be the first and currently the only pool on Nantucket Harbor, on the bay side. There is a pool nearby on a property that addresses the North Shore. So I
There's
just
the pool
want, I
next to
just want to state, this is setting a precedent. Please, please be careful, or we're gonna end up looking like,
Okay.
Siri, in full respect, there's a pool next to this property. Directly next to this property, there's a pool. You can even put a,
Facing the harbor?
yeah.
This is what
And it's actually closer,
on the map I looked.
and it's actually closer to the water than the one I'm proposing. Why? But you're proposing one in the front, right? This one is actually fully in the front of the house, even closer to the beach. Yeah, I don't have a go out and look at it again.
Got more. Cut off. No,
Well,
I love
yeah.
it.
So can we make a
Well, no, hang on. I want that to get straightened out, and John needs to make some additional comments.
And the pool was built like 2 years ago.
Next to this.
Yeah. It was even Elizabeth. Lisa and Elizabeth did it.
Last.
Yeah.
Okay, so with
I
that,
feel bad now, but I made that statement.
no, that's fine. But thank you for your comment, Terry. Now, and we will keep our eye on it. John,
On page 5, Steve mentioned the steps, okay? There's 3 steps to go from this level to the level of the front door. Am I correct?
of the cottage, yeah, well, that's changing, John.
Right now, there'll be just 2 steps.
Okay, because it's only 20, roughly 21 inches from the bottom of it to the top of the stairs. The stair tread is generally 7 by 9, 7 by 12. Right, 7 and 12. So if you got them up 7 inches, three steps are 21 inches.
Okay, so one of the problems is these drawings right here, this portion, they have not been updated because she dropped that guest house further down than what that drawing shows. So there won't be that many steps.
You gotta come back with the true drawing.
Oh, yeah, that's what we're all hoping to see.
So Mayor, sorry, go ahead. So these are reflected in this rendering?
Yes.
Okay. So when you come, it shows 5 risers from here to here.
Yeah, no, it should be just 2.
Okay, so that's where your 2 feet
Yeah.
comes from. Okay, just again, to understand.
No.
Sorry, John, you had another comment, right?
Fine.
Good? Okay, so
I make a
Mirka,
motion to hold for revision,
yeah,
information.
and some more information.
more information, and viewing if anybody wants to.
Viewing, definitely.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thanks.
Well, that was.
All right.
Hey, Mirka, is the house that's there, that near where this is, just
Oh.
for reference?
Beach house.
The existing,
So this house.
We actually
is
had 2,
actually
hold
here.
on, John. We were actually kind of, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but we were actually sort of reviewing 2 applications at the same time.
Right, I just
One
wanted
for
to
the
say that.
pool, one for the tennis court. So we made a motion on one. The motion should really be for both of them.
For both of them are tracking
Yeah.
the,
Okay.
Approve the pool through staff?
Haha.
right here.
Yeah, that's my position.
We just reviewed the pool and the tennis court will track the, or this is a motion somebody made.
I did.
Tennis court to track the pool.
Diane made
So
it.
Diane made that motion?
Yeah.
All those in favor of Diane's motion?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mirka. Okay, emeritus. No emeritus.
Motion to hold for representation?
Yeah,
All those in favor? Aye.
so we got nagged, didn't we?
That was 16, John.
They're not here either.
They're not here. Well, that's funny, because didn't Matt walk in here like? Oh, he did, okay. Okay. 17 Westchester,
We're not here.
nobody here, okay.
Motion to hold for representation.
Thank you.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye. 21 Greglin?
Greglin, also.
Wow.
Motion to
We
hold.
only, well, we certainly have concept design here, and the only other person is Joe. So, 18, motion to hold for rep.
Representation.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Joe.
Yeah. Give it a try. It should.
What are you trying to? Oh, shit. Yours all the time?
At November, but it seems
When
to
I
keep
first met
sticking.
you, you had this huge red beard. You were working for Howard. You were working out at, what's the place? No.
John left.
Val, TJ, Steve, John, and Ray.
Or no, John was still there.
Yeah, that was right.
Yeah, because he was busting me about the J window.
Oh, that's right.
I
Diane
thought
left.
that was on it.
Diane stayed till the end.
I stayed because I made a comment about the,
Oh, but you weren't on it because the application, you were about to leave.
You thought you were
oh,
leaving
and
your
so I
daughter's walking.
stepped by, that's right.
But
I
I
Right,
was
you were
on it.
waiting for
Yes,
right.
Val was on.
Diane Jr. to pick you up from
Right.
the hospital.
I knew there was something.
And we wanted, TJ would go on it instead of me,
Right.
so
Okay.
depending on how long.
So, to reiterate, John, Val, PJ, me. Okay.
And little old me.
Oh, and you. Oh, okay. There we go. All right. All right, Joe.
Okay, so I believe I addressed all your concerns, which was to change the chimney so it had brick, so I removed the stucco, and it was also slanted, so I squared it up. Revised the roof block detail, removed all the oval windows, changed the dormer material, and that was kind of all. And lowered
Changed
the
the
roof
dormer
pitch,
pitch.
and changed the pitch as well. Yes. Per your request. And on the window schedule, I added the word "fix" for Mr. Laughlin
For the H windows.
and deleted J. Yes.
Okay.
Big shutters for a big window. So that's a skylight. Yeah.
That's actually I'll tell you that later.
Who wants to lead it off?
What's the elevation?
DJ?
Come back to me.
What, come back to you?
Yeah.
Okay. John, you ready?
Nope, I don't know what this is.
Okay.
Second floor. Second floor plan.
Ms. Oliver.
I appreciate the changes. The only thing I'm still unsure of is that steep roof pitch, but he did have pictures that
Yeah.
illustrated there are.
Some very interesting examples.
Right.
And I actually found a really cool picture from a house that was
Oh
demolished
my God.
in Wisconsin.
Wow.
Pass it over.
Oh, look at that. Baxter Road. Oh my word.
John lived there as a child, and
And he has the riches map to prove it.
so yeah,
Walt Baxter.
Wow.
it's now this massive two-story with all these funky roofs, and yeah, I don't know why they
Is
demolished
that on
it.
the waterside?
It's no on the opposite side.
Oh, wow, what a beautiful.
Well,
And
I like the
wasn't even a reference, it was just, as I was trying to find some pictures, I just went through the NHA library, and there it was. And
Very cool.
I brought in a piece of trace, which has three things, one of the, it's actually a 1512
hey Joe,
estimated.
would you consider changing the windows to 2/1 or 2/2 as opposed to the 6 light?
That actually was brought up, can I come back on that one?
I think for me, this makes it a little bit more,
Cottage Victoria.
yeah.
I actually think she preferred it, but I don't want to say it at the table.
She would prefer what?
The 2/2. I think that was a discussion we had, and,
Or 2/1.
are they 2/1s or 2/2?
No, they're 2/2s, but you
Yeah.
have a 6/1. I was just, I mean, 2/2 would be perfect.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Or a 2/1.
Either way,
Yeah, we just approved the 2/1 in
I
it.
think it's truer to the
You
genre.
know.
Either way.
That's it.
That's it, Val?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good.
I actually like that.
Good pickup. Stephen?
Joe, thanks for the changes. I think that makes a big difference. It's a small amount, but it's a little less steep. And changing the materials on that dormer made it
Definitely blowing it.
better, more integrated. Yeah, that's great, thank you.
Great. John, you ready?
Yeah, north and south elevation. The vent up in the
Oh, yeah, the fan.
And, man, it should be.
How about an oval window?
You know, the weird thing about that
Can't
is,
put around with it.
John, the logo for the Preservation Institute Nantucket has that.
I know the weirdo that designed it.
So there's your comeback. That's a comeback to the ages.
Last page.
Okay.
So that is actually, sorry.
What is it?
So Mr. Welch and I were at the Builders Association, and thank you for your presentation. That was really good.
Yeah, it was.
But something that came up was
Solar ready.
that you have to have the house solar ready.
What did you just say?
Yeah.
That the house has to be solar ready.
I'll let Joe tell you.
So somewhere within the house, you have to have a conduit that is within the wall and to the panel
Pathway.
pathway.
Or
Thank you.
conduit.
Good. Yeah. But
Well, even though you're not putting solar
You need
on,
to know that.
agreed. So
This is a building department thing?
this
Part of
is
the 2015 IECC.
Oh,
this is awesome.
I love it.
Great.
24 of them.
24.
Well, that's just a, so what I did
Oh.
quickly, and I'm not going to submit this, but it was more where to put the solar panels on this house. I had to do it. So I was thinking along the south wall that's way in the back of the house. And that's what that is. So I apologize. It
John,
was a-
I think that we need to be educated here.
So
So
that's the-
hang on, I think that there's a new building department rule.
Yeah.
And so you weren't talking about the fan, though?
No.
Okay.
This is completely different, but that's on the second floor plan, and I generated that in the event of Tuesday's meeting because, or Thursday, because we talked about it Wednesday, and we didn't review it, and now I forgot to update the second floor plan.
I want to make sure that I understand.
You wanted to give you a little more?
The current building code or the
Yes.
one that's about to get
2015.
The current
Adopted
one.
in January.
Yes.
So you need to show that the house is solar ready. And how you do that is in your floor plan, first floor, second floor, third floor, wherever it is. You need to show that you can establish a pathway for conduit to be run from a solar location
Oh, that's.
to
what
a
that-
solar ready location, which I'll get to in a second, to your panel. So you just need to dot it out and plan.
That's wild.
Now, wait one second, and then in an elevation or plan view, you need to show there's a certain percentage, square footage of roof based upon the orientation. If you're within a certain degrees of orientation, 270, 110, you're good and you have to show it. If you're not, then you're accepted from the rule because you don't have roof space that would accept solar in a capacity that makes it worthwhile to use. Okay? So let's make it simple. You have a south-facing roof plane. That roof qualifies if it's larger than, I think, 500 square feet or something. You have to show that on that house there is a space for it to be solar ready. You can either show panels, or you can just show a dotted line, but you have to demonstrate. I don't know that our building inspectors are doing this yet in plan review, but this is what came up in the class. So they're
Yeah.
and who's?
You guys
is it
just
the
laughed at
state
the guy.
rule or
It's
town
a-
rule?
it's actually
It's a federal rule.
It's an international building code that was adopted by energy code that was adopted by the state.
What if there's not a south-facing roof plane
Okay,
that's?
so
So
I
that's-
understood it, you're exempt.
Right.
If you have a roof configuration that does not allow for solar in whatever way, if it's not south facing or if it's not enough roof facing south, et cetera, you're exempt from all of that, which has problems of its own. Because if you're trying to skirt that rule, you design the house and then you basically screw the solar.
I can bring the paperwork in and we can actually cover it if you guys want.
So-
Very
Well, I
briefly.
don't think that we need to necessarily because
And I'm not looking for approval, I just basically,
No.
my reason for doing that was because I'd like to put on my
Yeah.
construction documents.
Yeah.
This is the best place that I believe that the ACC would approve the solar panels.
Right.
So I'm just kind of, and I know I'm not doing a formal application, but I'm just saying,
Okay.
if that rear southern wing was acceptable-ish for a condo.
Got it. Okay, so was that whole discussion inspired by John making
By that,
reference?
yeah, because I didn't update that floor plan, because I apologize. I
So
did-
John, just to be clear, that roof plan that you are looking at, he's not making a request for solar panels. He's just putting them on there to show the building department that he could do it if he got approval for it, okay? Not part of this application.
Not part of this application.
Okay, let's see, where were we? So was that the sum of your comments, John?
Yeah, that was the second floor.
Okay, I'm gonna hold that motion. I will hold it. Yes.
Thanks for making all these nice changes. I think it certainly shaped it up. I agree with Val about the 2/2s would be really nice. It's, would go well with this type of design. And I'm looking at your 215 pitches. And thanks for changing them and lowering them. But I'm looking at the relationship between the main ridge and the ridge of those 215 pitches, thinking that it could be closer. Maybe if you bumped up the eve of your 15 pitch about 6 inches. And it's not a huge sticking point for me, but it would proportionally look nice. That's all I have. It's a nice job done.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, just more of the boards. I don't think that would be a problem at all. It actually, would help us elements.
You give you a little room.
Yeah.
I would have no concerns with that.
I would not. What's the dimension?
I would say 6 to 8 inches.
Oh, okay.
6 to 9 inches and give them discretion.
All right. And you have no objections?
No, she actually asked for that. and I
Okay,
was-
all right, so, okay, now John has made a motion to approve. However,
Retract that for a second.
okay, go ahead.
I missed something.
All right.
Front door, not a 6 panel, but it's the side lights and the transom. It's too heavy in that area, I think it's too heavy.
Yeah, it's because we're trying to get as much light in that front entry, that's why I did the transom.
What do you do at night?
Huh?
What do you do at night? Like, pull the light on.
They're solar god.
People
they're
won't
sun
keep the
gods.
lights on,
Not daytime, you like sunlight.
Actually, I can't disagree with John. The rest of the house has got so simple. By the way, I liked your detail. I just thought there were, as I said last week, there were kind of few too many of them. I can't, can we lose the transom?
Especially if it goes to 2/2.
Yeah. Agreed.
Or come in with pictures.
Have to get back in.
So do you want us to hold for revision?
I think we need all the
Okay.
revisions.
Really?
What?
Oh, Joe.
That's a staff approval?
TJ just gave you 6 more inches of head height on
6 to 9.
6 to 9, yeah.
Okay, but I reserve the right to come back with the transom in case.
Or can
All
I-
right,
Yeah.
all right, so yes.
You're gonna go with 2/2?
I'll go with the 2/2.
I can make a motion to approve through staff with window panes or window pane configuration to be 2/2 on double hungs, 4 lights on otherwise, and for the 15 pitch eaves to rise up 6 to 9 inches at designer's discretion, and to lose the transom over the front door.
I'll comment on the motion. Would this house look better with shutters or blinds?
If you're blind, the shutters don't matter.
I
I like this, yeah, this is okay.
Yeah.
Hey, you're trying to say something, Rick doesn't.
Clean your heart.
No, so I think the shutters are fine.
The shutters look good.
All right, so there's a motion on the table to approve with 2/2 windows, 4 lights as the fixed casements, raising the subordinate gables 6 to 8 inches at designer's discretion, and getting rid of the transom over the entry door. All those in favor of
Aye.
TJ's motion? Aye. Very good, thanks, Joe. Thank you. Do you have another one?
R2.
Oh, yeah.
And this is more for the pool. They've just hired Samir to this, so it's more about getting a building permit. It may shift back a little bit in the lot, but we don't know yet.
Yeah, once we get those 3D renderings, everything changes.
I don't think that's as important when the lot isn't.
I
was
agree
going to
with
say
you.
that. I agree with you. I don't think this is quite as complicated as.
We need to be careful with hardscapes, you know. Like, if someone needs a driveway.
So this 3D, is that sort of
Nice level lot.
Nice level lot.
Joe, remind me.
Did this come up on Thursday, or can I sit on this one?
You can sit on it. It's a new application.
Okay.
I'll sit on it. TJ's
He's coming up next.
recused on the next one. Or you sit on it.
Yeah, I'll sit on
You
it.
sit on
because I
it.
can't
Yeah,
sit on it.
yeah, that's what I meant.
No commentating.
All right, I'm like in the middle of this.
Joe, what are your materials?
A little Slater.
John, can you read the application?
Huh? Gravel driveway?
Yes.
Bluestone walkways, patio bluestone, type 2 fence,
Like 2? Looks like it's hitting the privet.
and then a flat.
The gates is side. Like,
Nantucket finish, moonlight gray or Tahoe blue.
is that all right? Does that work for you?
It won't be as blue as Tahoe, I can tell you that.
Can I call Mr. McLaughlin to verify?
John,
I don't know. But last week's phone call.
Anybody have any concerns with this?
No.
question,
Yes, sir.
when you're looking at it from Sankaty Road looking straight in, and up at the top is a line of black wire fencing,
Correct.
Yeah. Hidden within privet.
huh?
Hidden within privet.
Yeah, didn't see that.
Um,
I'm just curious, you know, because you never know, somebody say that's, barbed wire for all I know.
no, there's an existing privet here now that's like
What's that?
9 feet from this side, 6 from the other, and we're just going to kind of drop it
Around
down.
a couple of pools.
Yeah.
A lot of them ought to be like this close, instead of just doing the whole yard, 2 acres.
Well, there ain't much
There
yard
isn't
there.
much choice on that.
I see they have some nice little friendly neighbor gates in the back driveway. That's nice.
We're going to talk to them about that. It's just to the lawnmower.
Okay, everybody all right?
Yeah.
All right. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve is submitted.
Thanks. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, Joe.
Comment, well, one comment, Chair, OSHA, no,
Relating to this?
No.
Oh, no.
no, you notice that.
Take it easy.
Be careful. You notice that the owner is very religious. Because when David slew Goliath, his brother stands there, and what's he say? He said, gee, David.
Oh, boy.
Hey, remember,
That was a
you
bad
make
thing.
that one,
That
try to make
that
it
was
smart.
bad.
Dun,
You've been
dun.
working on that for like an hour, haven't you? No wonder why you've been preoccupied.
So let me,
let me go through the changes. We not only change.
Is it this board?
I think
Is it who you're looking
I
at?
think it's everybody.
Fulham, McLaughlin, Oliver, and Welch.
Oh, so no Diane.
Diane.
Diane had taken off by that
Yeah.
point, yeah, okay.
All right, so primary concern was our picture windows, so we modified those, we broke them up into, first of all, we made them all the same type, the 3 picture windows, and we broke it into casement, picture, casement, and changed the pane configuration. We think it looks nice. We're willing to do something different if it's the board's sort of pleasure. The front door, we beefed up the trim and we changed the color. It was dove gray and we proposed that on accident. We changed it to natural mahogany with an oil finish. The trim is natural to weather. The windows are dove gray. West elevation, I eliminated a ganged window on the first floor and swapped it with a single window. It's the one on the far left corner of the west elevation. And we added window wells and a stair to the basement.
Comment.
Can you go over the colors?
Oh, the colors, window sash, dove gray, and most of the doors are dove gray. Front door, natural mahogany with an oiled finish, natural weather red cedar roof, and trim is natural to weather, yeah.
For me, the only concern I have is the casements and the picture windows. Could those be double hung?
It'd be difficult to with that pane configuration, but we could work something out here if everybody thinks they should be double hung.
Why can't you just do, to Val's, why can't you just do 2 over 2 double hungs on either side rather than the casements with the little 2 like that?
Yeah, we could do that.
I mean, maybe like a narrower version of that ink.
Yeah.
And,
Absolutely fine.
is that
Would
what
you
you meant,
leave the
Val?
little trail up above or just leave it empty?
On the picture unit, or just leave it open?
Me
Yeah.
too.
Now, you had said something about it reading suburban.
No, not really. I just said it read that detail. To me, it feels like it was built in the 60s or something. But I'm willing to go with it. We want the operability and the breeze to come in, so
Yeah.
that's.
At a slightly different proportion, it would be.
Yeah.
Smaller, more of a short picture with 2 double hungs, where this is a taller, longer.
Yeah. So I probably need to widen those casements a few inches and make it
Yeah.
2 over 2s.
I think that would look really good.
Okay, let's do that.
Stephen, do you have anything to add?
I agree.
That's it? Okay. John, comments, questions?
No, you shot at it.
Well, Stephen, show him what we're sort of thinking about doing rather than have those casements.
Basically, we're gonna do this a little wider. Make this a double hung.
See, John, right now those are casement windows? Okay. So they would go to double hung.
I'm just slow, man. No, tell me you said I was. Both of you.
I'm not quite sure, you said that twice already tonight. There you go. Don't be so self-conscious.
You okay? Motion? Okay, so John has made a motion to approve, but it would obviously be with the change of the picture units to have 2 over 2 double hungs on either side rather than the casements through staff.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 There you
I'm
go.
not going to be so poor. I got approved.
You missed. You were the pole.
Is anyone opposed?
No.
Thank goodness. I wonder if anyone ever has opposed their own motion.
Well,
That would
maybe
be
in
interesting.
a moment of weakness.
Conflict of interest.
Okay, thanks. Now, so, let's see, let's do the easy stuff first. Can we approve minutes February 6th?
Motion.
To approve.
Thank you, Diane. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain.
Okay,
I haven't done it.
very good. Now, John, you're gonna have to remind me of certain things. So, starting from the end, going backwards. Roof shingles, we're just gonna wait. We have some shingles, we're waiting on others. We're gonna wait until we have all the shingles before we have that discussion. So that was that.
Right, and some of the sample boards are big, the ones that are made locally, and then the ones the manufacturer's sending are smaller.
Yeah, yeah.
But we'll be, just, my understanding is we'll be able to then look at them, and we might just rule some out before we go ahead and make up the ones that,
I just had a bunch dropped off today. They're
3 by 3, I think.
10 of them, 10 different samples, but they're all with 3 tab.
right, and then I've got, Island Lumber's gave us the smaller version, I think they're 18 by 24 of the ICO,
They gave us like
And-
3 shingles.
and
so
then
we
they're gonna
could
do
speed it
a
up.
and then they're gonna give us the certainty. They gave us smaller ones, and then we can say, we need to see more of it, and we can make up boards. But I wasn't gonna go through and make up, I mean, Linda was making up boards, God bless her. I wasn't gonna go through and make up a bunch of boards if we weren't gonna, it just was like, oh, we shouldn't have picked that one, forget about it.
Right. Oh, so do the 2 by 3 thing that they're offering now, and if we need to
Then if it's a
do it
questionable-
further,
Right.
I'm sure that there's some that we're gonna be able to just say no.
Right.
And then that way John also doesn't have to have 4 by
Yeah.
4 sheets in the office.
Exactly, because I think Marine did 10 of these things. I'm sure there's a bunch of them that we can just totally knock off. These are the roof shingles. We're trying to get samples of them.
Maybe we could also get at the same time the availability of the different shingles, whether they're doing away with 3 tabs.
They are not.
I didn't
They're
think
not.
they were.
That's the interesting thing, Diane. It's like the more you dig on this, the more you learn.
Well, that's
And-
why 3 tabs were put on my roof this year was because they are, and they come with a, I don't know, 30 or 50-year guarantee. So
We just
if they
approved
blow
the
away,
house on Trotters Lane that's a Huntington, and they applied for 3 tab shingles.
right, and they got it, so we should get that, the member of the planning board that was here as an applicant the other day. Good one.
It took me a while.
That said that all 3 tabs were being done away with.
Yeah.
It may
Well,
just,
sorting the wheat from the chaff on this one has been really tough going.
yeah, some of them are discontinued, but others replaced them. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions. So what I did is when I contacted the manufacturer, when I asked for samples, so we know, I checked into what's available. And Ray and I actually looked at potentially other lines which were very attractive and may be replaced by something by certainty, but they're currently discontinued for 2018. So those samples were turned away. A nice looking, almost like a 3-tab,
Didn't this have some?
and
Diane has
instead
to
of that
write that.
What is that?
trapezoid shape, now
But
on
I'm not Joe
architectural,
just got a
Yeah.
square cut.
Sure.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rate your conditions
So I'm gonna keep my eye out for those.
Two windows raising
Certainty.
subdormant.
They're hatters
Tranquil
and they're
Sub,
Yeah, there were 2.
sub
independents,
gables.
but they, when they're done with stock in 2018, they're done with those. And I'm waiting to hear back on what's replacing them.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
slow process.
Yeah, but we'll get it.
All right, check.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my comment is that, whatever we do, I think we should stick and make a fast policy of between the outside and the old
Oh,
HCC.
that's the whole reason we're doing this,
Yeah,
John.
yeah.
We're gonna pick the shingles that we think are appropriate in OHD, and it's gonna be these shingles.
Yeah.
And then maybe we open it up a little bit more for people out of town, but.
Should we stick to 5 colors?
Well,
Let's discuss it.
We'll
when
see
we
how
have
many
the
good ones
discussion.
there are. I mean, you know,
Give us less argument.
there might only be 3, who knows? We'll see.
Thank you.
So, John, who put HCC inspection update on?
Bring that up with you.
Uh,
Just a little update on things that have
do
been.
you mean, collectively, or?
Yeah, the commission.
Do you wanna do that now?
Sure.
Okay, hit it.
Well, just one thing I've noticed recently, which is
I'm listening.
odd since it's been a new trend.
side faces out.
Correct, yeah. So, I know it's not really specified really in approvals, but I have heard it specified.
Yeah, you know what's weird about that?
You could double-side it.
Well, you could. That's one thing, yeah. Pool fences, somebody has to help me with this. Pool, not pool fences, pool gate. Did you say gate or fence?
The fences.
Oh, the fences.
Yeah. I think gate was basically,
Okay, because the gates are supposed to open out.
Right.
Not supposed to
Yeah.
open in.
Right.
And when a gate opens out, you're looking at the finished side. Well, unless you have a carpenter that's never built a gate before,
Right.
you're supposed to see the finished side facing out.
Right.
Okay.
Right,
So
same
that's-
when you do a fence. If you do a fence so that the good side faces you, the
Well-
fence belongs to the other guy.
Yes, but if you have a fence that's contained completely within your property, that rule does not apply. That rule applies if you're doing a fence between you and your neighbor. You have to have the so-called good
Yeah.
side face your neighbor.
Face the neighbor.
And if you want to look at a good side too, what you have to do is a double-sided fence. So I think that the solution to this problem is simple, but it requires diligence and vigilance.
Well, yeah,
And that is simply to, when somebody comes in for an application with a fence that has a side on it, a good side and a bad side, that the good side is facing out.
Right.
And what they do on the inside is their own business.
Right. I know it was,
It's a good neighbor policy.
well,
We'll track the anti-spike.
it used to be, I noticed a lot of the approvals for pools, the fences were pushed back off at the property line.
Correct.
A few feet just to have some more plantings in front, so.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, we're still trying to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
We try and do that.
Not
keep it off
not
the-
by several feet, but
Right,
enough to
right.
have plantings on
Right,
one
exactly.
side.
Just because I've seen a lot of other inspections with, a lack of vegetation with fences.
In other words, there's a pool fence that's
Yes.
kind of more or less on the property line.
Right.
No vegetation on the outside face of it.
Right, correct.
And further, that you're looking at the bones part of the fence rather
Yeah,
than the.
yeah.
Well, actually, I think that there's a building department rule against that. You have to have the good side of the fence facing out.
State law.
Your people at
State law.
2 feet Val, they only put up black wire mesh and that's it. It looks
And
terrible. No nothing.
edge?
It looks
Edge and
absolutely
Callahan?
terrible, yeah. Maybe they're waiting for the spring, I hope.
Yeah. Did they put the full width?
Yeah.
Well, look, if the fence is like way within the property, it's
Yeah.
on somebody's own property, that's kind of a different issue. But there's definitely, as Steve says, there's a state rule.
Yeah, there's a state law.
It's kind of a good neighbor thing that says if you're building a fence, the good side, the finished side has to face your neighbor.
Right.
And if you want to have a good side on your side, you've got to double-side it. That's a rule. And that's beyond the HDC, that's a state rule.
That's a, yeah, we have had that come in front of us on occasion, and it sort of teed the people who were on the right side of the fence, they were upset that they didn't own that fence, that the other people did.
Oh,
I don't know whether they double-sided it or just lived with it, but that's when it came up a lot, was who owns the fence on a, sideline close up.
usually, like, if you're putting up the fence, if it's your dime, it goes on your property.
Yeah, may I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Did you just mention in your talk that hedges on the outside and, say metal fences inside,
Yeah.
but if you're outside of a 4-foot fence, a neighbor,
Yeah.
so why would you want to screen fence, if people can see it. The reason, well, why isn't it screening it? The only reason that they use that screening is to hide the fence from the view.
Right.
Yeah. But if somebody's walking down the sidewalk and it's on the side of a house, the guy's got a pool, he's got a 4-foot hedge, you can see right over the top of it, you know? All things out back.
Oh, you can see the pool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully we take that into consideration, because, yeah, if the fence is right here and it's 4 feet high, and there's a pool right over there, you're gonna see it easily.
Here's one other thought. That should we work on the regulation, possibly in the guidebook, if it gets made, that, how am I gonna say this? Fencing for pools should be no more than 30 feet from the pool. That stops a lot of these big expanses of these crazy fences out of town, you know, and you know, I think, you know, something ought to be done.
One other funny thing about that, John, there was a town ordinance not that long ago that said that, maybe it was a state ordinance, that said that the fence couldn't be any more than 50 feet away from the pool, and then they did away with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who did away with it?
I don't know, it was either a state or a town thing, I can't remember. They needed to, I think it was state, needed to have the, oh, you know what? It wasn't 50 feet, it was 25 feet away from the pool. So all these pools had the fencing really, really close, and then they got rid of the rule. So, but that's just an aside, to say that, yeah, you can have a rule like that.
Up until 1987, the town had an appointed position of fence viewer. And someone would go around and act as the ombudsman and settle matters of fences specifically.
That's how that,
Well,
the good side, the bad side.
And it was John.
I retired from the town, that's right, I was a fence viewer.
He was the fence viewer.
You made some money with that one there. If you view the fence and the guy says, well, see that going down there and it curves, that's on my property, you know. You look down there, you look at the deed, you know, the print, you know. Yeah, well, you gotta move it back, you know.
Yeah.
You got $5 for doing it. You didn't do that many. That's all the town paid.
John, did you have any more things?
No,
That was it? Okay, good.
That's helpful.
All right.
Thank you.
But, thanks for bringing it up.
How about mini splits?
Well, hang on, let's see. So we have this revised schedule,
Yeah.
all right? And now this was, remind me what the glitch was.
This needed to change because town meeting is on a Tuesday.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So we needed to cancel the Tuesday, April 3rd meeting.
Yeah. So basically, the whole thing has to shift after town meeting. Does anyone have any?
Actually, unless you still want to meet on that Thursday.
For old stuff.
That could get out of hand if we go over though on that Thursday. I don't know.
Depends, what is it, 97
April 3rd.
warrants?
Oh, yeah, something like that. It's not the longest one, it's not the shortest one.
I'm sorry, what were you saying, TJ?
Well, I was just saying, if we, the Thursday after town meeting, if we
Yeah.
have a long agenda, I don't know, it just seems like it'd be better to take a week off instead of risking having an overflow meeting for that meeting. Because then the next Tuesday would be pretty jammed up.
When does town meet, Mondays or Tuesdays?
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Well, see, the issue with the schedule that we had before, John, was that they had town meeting on a Tuesday night, and we're really not allowed, we're not supposed to, as a board, be having a meeting while town meeting's going on. So John had to shift it all. I'd be in favor of skip the Thursday meeting.
Take a week
We'll
off.
just see what happens. Yeah. So that's basically this, right, John? That's this.
No, I think I kept it on with that Thursday.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so.
Oh, right. Oh, so it has to change again.
But we can just vote to
then so the old new would have to shift.
Yeah.
Everything would shift. Okay, so can somebody make that motion? Okay.
To axe the fifth.
Motion to accept it, yes.
Well, so here's what we're accepting, John. This thing right here has us meeting on the Thursday after town meeting. We're gonna scratch that. So that means that we are not gonna be meeting on the 6th.
So you want to meet on the other stuff?
Well, no, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna meet, the 13th is gonna be old business.
Okay.
And then the 20th is gonna be new, right on down the line. So,
Remember when you don't call on me, Diane?
Diane, you made that motion, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
But wait a minute, that's it.
Oh, hang on.
Sorry.
Good.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, so Diane has made a motion to approve the revised meeting schedule,
Right.
eliminating the 3/6 Thursday meeting, and then adjusting everything after that, alternating old and new.
4 or 5.
Sorry.
April is 4.
Just for the record.
How about what I wrote down is motion to approve the revised schedule with no meeting the week of April 3.
Good.
Yeah, that's
But
good.
then you gotta adjust the rest of it, right?
Yeah, everything following that
It's
needs
just
to.
an easier.
Okay,
It still has to be adjusted.
gotcha.
Right. Okay. All those in favor of Diane's motion?
Aye.
Very good. Okay, so that was that. Do we have anything more we need to talk about on mini splits for at the
Yeah.
moment?
Last meeting, we did put it together and for print up for the guide.
Oh.
So this is basically just what we talked about at the, it's what we talked about all along and what we agreed to do at the last meeting, which included, if you turn to page 3, which was presented at the presentation.
Yep.
Just really quickly, on the left panel, in the rear of the structure with a red diagonal hatch, the rear structure and the front structure, the rear of it, those designated areas of work that would typically be a consent location for HVAC equipment. And then the crosshatch on the left side of both those structures indicate areas that may require screening or a cover, which obviously is an HDC, they're all HDC review and approval. And then the one to the right, that's a multifamily, and then the one to the right is a historic, one of the historic districts example that they'll work up both of these. And then it's the same thing, what's not visible, and then what may be visible. And then you'll notice that there's no room for anyone to put anything in the front. We haven't put an area there. And then, so that combines with the text to give people guidelines and procedures, including, we discussed at the meeting that, and John, I want you to please, obviously look through this. This was like a work group thing. But I think it's just important for us to clarify amongst ourselves that what we discussed, because this has gone to the town, because they're going to be meeting with installers for their initiative. So there's a little bit of a,
Oh, great.
so it's
Okay.
kind of coming together quickly type of thing. So basically what it is it gives some very simple instructions under the procedures, which are that fill out the application, all relevant application fields in the instructions are at the back, images that best demonstrate the proposed installation locations and any public views. Images must clearly show the proposed location. If the location is for new construction, only images of public views are required. To include a locus and site plan, so basically give some instructions how someone can do that if you're not, a designer, architect, professional. It does include that architects, designers, and drafters shall, whenever possible, include the equipment locations and elevations and plan drawings for new construction, major renovations, so that, because we're going to request it of them in any event at the table. So adding it to the initial submission will help prevent delays. And then it covers the topic we discussed, which was that applications for these particular equipment for now will be reviewed weekly, not an old new thing.
Right.
So they'll fall in under consent or consent with conditions, or they can be heard each week. So that just tells people to disregard the new and old portion of the schedule, which is not currently applicable to these applications.
Why did you say O, Val?
Because I wanted to discuss that, and I forgot. With the schedule, do we need to do it old, new, old, new, old, new? It used to just be
Oh,
first come,
not
first
relating to
served.
this.
Right, but that
Okay,
just
so
reminded
let's
me.
finish this and
No,
then-
we don't have to discuss it today.
So basically, and then it just goes on to explain consent and consent with conditions. So what we've done is we've distilled the guidelines into four points. We've distilled the procedures into 3 points with subsections. And then this has been, it leads out with, the HTC requires your cooperation to protect Nantucket, which is in its entirety is listed as a National Historic Landmark District in the National Register of Historic Places. And it says, I just want to point this out because I want to get your approval on this. On Nantucket, the very next sentence is, on Nantucket, any person who, without HTC review or approval, erects, reconstructs, or alters any structures or exterior architectural features in violation of the HTC's Founding Act. Violators may be subject to fines and other measures. Each day a violation continues to exist as a separate offense. And then it goes on to say about the HVAC equipment is clearly an exterior architectural feature, and how that relates and what a certificate of appropriateness is. And that duly executed certificate of appropriateness does not, it indicates compliance with HTC requirements only. It's the sole responsibility of the applicant to determine and secure any other regulatory review and approval, for example,
good one.
Conservation Commission, Planning Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, homeowner or condo association, etc.
Good one.
So these, what I've done, just so you guys, this is working, Val and I have been working on this, and this is as a work group type of a thing. A draft copy went out to the Nantucket Energy office, and they understand it's a draft, but I'd like to have everyone give comments, obviously including John, next Tuesday, so that if there are any changes, if they're not material, I'd say we hold till we do work, the kind of organizational steering group, that work group gets everything going. But then what we would do is we would actually distribute these, we put a link on the website, and we would distribute the information through the Builders Association to everyone who's a member, and to all the architects and designers that are that we know of and have email addresses for. And then we'll put a little, maybe we would just, I don't know, Jim, can we just put this somewhere in the office that people can review as opposed to attaching it to every application, or?
Yeah, absolutely. We could print it.
Put a file on.
We can print,
Yeah, we can put a file right at the desk.
and print them a little bigger, so that,
Yeah, we can make a large print one available on the website too.
yeah.
Yeah, we can put it on the website. We could, it's always been a bulletin board in the plus office.
You've got those wall files too.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I'll work.
Yeah, we can easily just simply put it right at the front.
So I'll make a little list of it, but I guess, this is our thing. I want to make sure everyone's on board with it, it's finalized, and we can get, be done with it.
I think you covered it.
Yeah, so, just to make sure, so I agree with you. And I also think that it's important to get this thing up
And going.
And
going
running before.
as soon as humanly possible. So if everyone can just do their homework, and if there are any comments to be made, let's do them at next Tuesday's meeting, and then we will let it,
Put it to bed.
go out, and everyone, it can be online.
I have a
Perfect.
comment.
Yes, sir.
I went yesterday and I took a picture up on Main Street where the homestead is.
Yeah.
Across the street, I mentioned this to some members.
That's the thing.
This is what's there.
That's what
Those
we're
are
trying
actually
to
boxed
avoid.
out.
They're boxed in, the shingles are torn it down.
The homestead is that white building?
Yes, it's sort of a Victorian
No,
building.
this is next door, across the street from that white one.
Okay.
Go across the street, and there's a lawn, and then that house there, it has a man.
It's terrible.
Oh, you know what I think? It's
Isn't that the new building or did they
Yeah,
just-
but
No.
these are wood.
Yeah, I can understand the wood, but it's.
Mark's right up the street.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's got
it.
It's got preservation plaque right on it.
One quick comment, here, This is the house out there on,
Eat fire.
no.
I don't see no house.
This is out on, this is where the house is gonna be. The guy over here, out on,
From Connect, you know, the architects that
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
You know, a
of
picture
course.
shows you
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
you
yeah.
want.
it was
to show
Rabbit
on.
Run in
Yeah,
Shopton.
yeah. Hey, just,
I'm saying, he said it couldn't be seen from the road. The picture was taken from the road.
No, I agree. I took a picture.
okay, guys, careful.
Right.
John's allowed to present that, but we can't
Okay.
parade, okay? Thank you, John.
Can I give
I'll
a
let you know what's here then.
quick update on this? So,
Yeah.
I think we need to kind of, the discretion of a work group, we had a mini split work group. This is more like a little committee, kind of like an organizational committee. But I did speak to Andrew about planning because of the funding for the CPC. And when that's going to expire and trying to coordinate some scheduling and get some ideas on getting that money involved.
What money?
The CPC funded the HDC some time ago, which I think is, when I say some time ago, I mean like
I
not
have the paper
in the
of
last,
funding in my
was it
bag.
like 2 years ago?
It was at least 2 years ago.
2 years.
I
They
think
don't
you
have any-
started out by saying mini split, but you're actually talking about.
Yeah, I was just saying,
I'll take
we had to work, we've got a couple different things going on with work groups, so I'm
Oh,
giving this one a
okay.
name,
All right.
organizational.
So this is different.
Yeah, so the organizational work group is looking at what we discussed and what we voted on, but I did speak to Director of Planning and Boards to get an idea of what the funds are earmarked for and what purpose we'd be using them for, and basically it's a kind of a consultant facilitator to help us do what we're talking about doing anyways.
Exactly.
So and the group is going to be getting together sometime after mid-March, after all the school vacations and all the rest of it. And then just so you have an idea of timeline, we're looking at, something's got to be completed before summer so that there's before the end of summer, September, so that there's some type of a proposal put together so that if we want additional funding, we're in the queue with CPC
Well, CPC.
for their deadline.
Has a 3 months,
Yeah.
we're starting 3 months. We just had a meeting today, and our next meeting is the 20th of March. And at which time the 3 months, we're doing more than 3 weeks. We didn't give them any more than 3 weeks last year. We're going to 3 months, and in many places, it's going to be like the end of July for the full presentation. The papers will be on their website starting the 20th of March.
Okay, so target then is towards the end of July, and then I'm also going to work and try and identify alternative funding sources. So,
Great.
just a quick update on
Yeah,
where we are,
that's
because we're
great.
not going to be doing anything with it for a while.
Okay.
You know,
Well, it's good to know. So
we know it's not withering on
after
the vine.
mid-March sometime.
Yeah.
And they got
And you were away, I think. So
Yeah, he was away.
basically, we're going to get together and try and come up with ideas and figure out what to do next. It's a little bit more than that, but and we're going to notice, and it will be public, and any commissioners are welcome. But we're doing a 3-person group so that if we task someone with something, we want it to be like a get work done group, not with 5 people, it's kind of spread out and you kind of come and go.
Yeah.
You know, we need to get it done. We don't have a lot of time.
Focus group.
But also,
Everybody's
it's a
focused.
focused group, and which is not to say that it's exclusive of any of the other
Yes.
members of the HCC.
Yes.
And all members of the HCC, and frankly, any member of the public can attend any of the meetings.
And in fact, we will be soliciting input.
Yeah.
In addition to reporting back, we'll be soliciting input from the entire group.
Yes, John?
I heard every word you said. Who is we?
We is you,
You.
Yeah.
which you're gonna be working, so none of this sloughing about, and Val and me. I'm
But-
joking with you, John.
Enjoy your vacation until mid-March.
Yeah, because then it's all
And then
over.
you're chained to the desk.
Motion to adjourn.
Thanks, everybody. All those in favor of Val's motion to adjourn? Aye.
The old business, new business thing?
No, we're gonna bring it up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No meeting Thursday.
Val, I
That's
didn't
good.
drink this.
Okay, give it to me and I'll
Yeah.
bring it back.
Yeah, I'll look.